Yo, my levels is good. What's going on? Midway, what's up? Talk to me. It's going down. It's going down. You already know. Let me know if my levels is good. Let me know how I'm sounding out here. We're gonna get everybody in here, have a fun one. Oh man, to the y'all up in there. Talk to me, chat. Let me just make sure the levels is good on the audio side before I start bringing in the crew. You know, before all the respectable people come in on their sides of this battle. Should be a fun one. Should be a real fun one. Macho, what up? Hustle, I see you. What's going on? Dion, 78. Do they talk about PlayStation, Xbox on the stream? Not right now. This stream is for supremacy. This is for bragging rights. This is for who is the GOAT. Which Mass Effect is the GOAT? That's what this is, Dion. You know what I'm saying? Thank you. What's going on? K Asante, what's up? You got your sword ready? You got your spear sharpened? Because it's going down. It's going down. We bringing it. Double TJ, what's up? Thank you, brother. Thank you. So yeah, we got an all-star cast, man. Mass Effect 1 and 2, the big team all-star cast. Very passionate. Macho, get out of here with that Mass Effect 3. It's about to ban you from the joint. Now, salute to you. I saw you on Ains. I saw you in there. You know what I'm saying? Young Orbit, what's going on? Where you cover the Halo incident. Incident. I don't know what you mean. Describe. Haha. Winter Soldier battle. What? You talking reckless. That's why you're gonna keep you on Twitch over there, Winter Soldier. No doubt. This is gonna be fun. I got my shooters with me too. They got shooters too. It's gonna be fun. So I'm gonna start bringing them in. And like I said, we'll get the bell running. I think Bill still will be coming in hot during the joint. We try to make it fair, 5v5. You know what I'm saying? You know, cordial, respectful, but it's gonna get intense, you know? And at the end of the day, even though we are both sides of this very strongly, we love this game. So that's what we have to keep the focus at. Even though we disagree vehemently, we do love this series. So that's gonna be the focus. But I will be back. I'm gonna start getting people in and get ready for a fun show, y'all. I'm telling you, the smoke is on all sides. Like, the smoke is so real. Like, me and Saul had to have a gentleman's agreement before, like, we could be cordial right now, but it's on sight. When I see, like, that's where this is at. Like, it's serious, y'all. Poochie, what's going on? Big Pooch, what up? Anyway, see y'all in a minute. I'm gonna start grabbing people up, and we're gonna get this show on the road. 15 minutes. See y'all. All right, I'm gonna read this super chat even though I don't want to. Lunkin Lunker filed out super chat. I'm glad we are all gathered today to further discuss why ME1 is the best of the series. You could throw that wannabe cover shooter ME2 in the bushes. Okay, I see what we doing with this, but yeah, it's on. We're gonna destroy all this Mass Effect 1 garbage.
Yeah, you're right. Mass Effect 2 is a wannabe shooter, and Mass Effect 1 doesn't even want to be a shooter. It wants to be. I don't know what it wants.
Don't even give him no bullshit. Don't even give him that. Don't even give him that. We saving that for when it's real showtime. Ainsley in the building. We be back, y'all. I just had to read that super chat. Oh yeah, T Cox stand up. You already know. And we are live. Something new, something different. The Mass Effect debate show is live. And first of all, I want to thank all these great gentlemen who have made their time available for something that's been a little contentious in the Mass Effect community. Something that, as much as we love this franchise, this has been an inner debate that has raged on for some time. And it's only right that we get all the willing participants to get this going, man. So let's start a little bit with the introductions with T Mass Effect 1, my man, my brother from the third grade, Lord Solve. You've assembled a great team there, sir. What's going on?
I have. This had to be done. We were just talking about the fact that this is stuff that we used to do back in the day when we were younger. It would just happen sort of impromptu, and then there'd be a lot of yelling and screaming and things of that nature. So it's always fun to sort of get back to those roots, obviously in a respectful adult way, yes, as we are all adults. But this is one of those conversations that just keeps coming up. So it's fun to have different opinions on both sides of it, and we will have a winner, I guess.
Yeah, we'll have a winner. So I guess, like I said, casual debate. But what I wanted to do too is introduce your team. You know, this illustrious team that you've constructed for Mass Effect 1. And start with you. You can set it off.
So first off, we have from Seasoned Gaming, the man himself, Lord Ainsley Bowden. Thank you so much for coming through, brother. Much appreciated.
Always, man.
And then we have the Lord of Legality himself, my cleanup hitter, Lord Richard Hogue. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. We got to defend the honor of the original.
Right. And then, of course, from the realm of seasoned gaming as well, we have Lord Steve Esposito, which I was not aware of the Mass Effect 1 love. I'm grateful and thank you for you joining
you know
us.
the kind of site we run over there.
I know Ainsley runs a tight ship.
It's on the questionnaire when I signed up.
Indoctrination is already involved. Indoctrination is already involved.
Not so. It's of his own volition. Obviously, because you have Dan over there.
Blink twice if you're under direct.
Dan's gone rogue. Dan's rogue. You know that.
Dan's rogue. Dan was able to break the hold. Yeah.
No doubt.
So thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. This is going to be fantastic. This is so much fun.
And for Team Mass Effect 1, will be coming hot. Will be the legendary Bill
of course
from Facebook VR. So he will be joining us coming in hot. And then we have that Mass Effect 2 team, that illustrious team on the right side of history. My man from IGN, the legend debater, and one of my favorites from Fire Team Chat, my man, Tie Guy Travis. How we doing, sir?
McClunky, happy to be here, guys, and show those old men shouting at the crowds that ME2 is the superior game. Sorry, guys, go home.
Respect. And of course, we have a good friend to the realm, my man, the man with the 1,000,000 gamer score, someone that you want to respect that plays these games. My man, Randall Thor 19 from the Xbox 2. What's going on, sir?
What is going on, Cog? What's going on, everybody? And what's going on, peasants of the Mass Effect 1 realm? This is going to be an interesting
your own
show.
team that way. That's crazy.
That's I know. So rude. I can't believe you, man.
Hey, guys, let's take the Mako for a spin, huh?
Easy. We're
My
going to get into
goodness,
it.
the personal attacks.
Are we getting into
I
it
tell
already?
you what.
Oh, we're going to get into it.
Are you indicating that your ability to control the Mako was just subpar? Is that the problem?
Wow.
Apparently, that was
Apparently,
everyone's
okay.
ability to control the Mako.
Well, I'm not.
but-
Again, it's not my fault. You're a basic gamer.
Oh, we will get into it. We
I
will
wonder
get
why
into
they
it.
changed it then.
Stop.
just letting you guys know that Cog and I are very much used to this type of smoke.
This is so look, and then also we got one half of the DPS podcast here, and member of the Brat podcast panelist as well as Scubcast, my man Slow Mo Backslap. How we doing, sir?
How's it going, Cognito of the winning team? How are you? What's
Doing
up,
good,
Travis? What's up, Rand? What's up,
Slow-mo.
Forte? You know, I just want to say before we get started, just want to say that, you know, unlike our opponents on the other side that are relying on nostalgia, I have at least a dozen playthroughs of this series already. So that I I, unlike them, remember how this game played. Okay, and I, unlike them, will be bringing up more than story in this debate.
Preach.
So like how it's
That's my
simplified.
opening
I got
salvo.
Right.
My opening
Education.
salvo. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
I really hope that's not your opening sound.
Oh!
I really don't. I'll explain it. I'll explain in a moment.
Salvo.
I will
But
explain in a moment
I got the artillery
why.
in the back for reloads too. Okay?
I'll explain in a moment why attacking tech really is probably
Not
not
tech.
the way you
Game
want to
design,
go.
Controls, how stuff plays.
We already shooting.
Remember,
We didn't get the
okay,
intros done.
game.
We didn't get the intros
It's
done.
a game.
Let's get through the intros first. Let's go. Let's get the intros first.
I think personal privilege here. These guys are representing opening statements here in their introduction. I'll have you know the Mass Effect 1 team did not abridge the rules.
That
of
is
this
true.
match.
That is true.
That is
They did
100%
not break
true.
the rules of engagement.
We're men of culture.
There you go.
That is true. Mass Effect 2, we're very aggressive right now.
You know,
We need to chill.
exactly. I don't know why you would have to be that aggressive if you're that confident.
Well, it's just, you know. hey,
They're flailing and they're blind flailing.
Yeah, it's like
But wasn't the Mass Effect 1 team that wanted to wait till after the Legendary Edition went out when Mass Effect 1 was in the
I don't
for improvement.
I wonder why.
I wonder
don't
why.
recall ever saying that. I don't know who you're talking to.
Yeah. I wonder why AIDS was like, why are we doing it before? But anyways.
Yeah, why are we doing it before? Let's wait till Mass Effect 1 plays like Mass
Why are you
Effect
putting
2,
that on
guys.
me?
I'll tell you what, I'm not at all convinced the legendary Mass Effect 1 will be better than the original. So we
Ooh,
can
we
have
gotta
that
get to it.
conversation if you want.
We're gonna get into it.
That's a
But
good
we got one more member, and that's my man. Again, one half of the DPS panel member for Brat Podcast as well as Scumcast, my man, Gaming Forte, who may or may not be working. So I just want to make sure he's there. Is he still there right now?
I'm still here as of
Okay.
right now.
My man. So I know, like I said, you have your time may be in and out limited. So it's up to you how early you want to go. But so I'll leave it up to you first.
Well,
as far as,
let me get these super chats.
Wait,
first.
hold on. Let me say something to Saul first. First of all, to ME1 team, I want to thank you guys for coming to this show. Because it takes some brave individual souls to broach this conversation that y'all about to broach today. Even, I respect every last one of you guys. So, even though I may think your choice and decision on what game is better may be flawed and crazy and ridiculous.
You're a
I
Mass
respect
Effect 3
you.
guy. I know. We know.
I
This.
respect you. I respect you. So thanks for coming through. And Andromeda better not even be a part of this conversation, sir.
We will address that earlier.
Well, I have an Andromeda presentation ready. Are they?
No.
All right. So Sal, you want to get the super chat? Then let's get this thing going.
Let's get the super chats. We have Lunker with the $5 super chat. I'm glad we're all gathered today to further discuss why Mass Effect 1 is the best of the series. You can throw that wannabe cover shooter ME2 in the bushes.
That's right.
And we have
Gaming
Gaming Times.
Wasn't
$5
ME1 supposed
super
to be a cover shooter too?
Yeah, exactly. Good try.
chat. I've been waiting all week. I'm excited for the show. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. Then we have Lucius Augustus, $5 super chat. As much as I will rock for ME2, I will also never accept any slander for the Mako. Excited to see this debate. Then we have Gaming Types Patrick once again. $5 super chat. Slow mo sounds like Lord Addict in disguise. A little voice modulation going on there, Addict. Then we have Glorious Kev, $5 super chat.
There we go.
Mass Effect 3 is the GOAT. You're Glorious Kev.
Gross.
Spoken.
Oh
My God.
3 colors, Kev. 3 colors.
Then we have Midway Monster, $5 super chat. It's gonna get messy. Friendships will be tested. Digital blood will be spilled. Have a great show. I'll be yelling at the screen with the Mass Effect 2 slander.
Yeah.
And Gaming Times Patrick once again with the $2 super chat. ME1 versus ME2 feeling like Apple versus Epic.
Oh, God. Hope not.
Then we have Jay Ritty with the $5 super chat. Let's keep it peaceful, dude. We have metal detectors to check everyone. Love this show.
No doubt.
Then we have Fonz and Raleigh Gaming, $2 super chat. Where's the Andromeda team?
He's here.
In the bushes where they belong.
Winter off.
Oh my god. So Saab, man, I'll put it on you, man. You guys could set it off first if you like. Oh, shout out to the Irish
One
Carp.
more Irish Carp.
Yeah.
$5.50 super
Canadian,
chat.
I guess? Mhm.
Canadian, yes. Just dropping some love, lads. Happy Saturday. Emmy too.
My man, see?
Thank you, Carp, but you're wrong.
I know.
Canadians, man.
All right, so
That I can agree
All right.
on.
Let me get
I
you to
think
set it
this
off.
game was made
we'll
by
set it off here.
Mhm.
So just to talk about just to speak a little bit, but just about the game up front and what happened. So in 2007, BioWare releases Mass Effect 1. And what's interesting about Mass Effect 1 when it releases is that it comes not necessarily on the heels, but about 2 years after we got the end of the prequel trilogy in Star Wars, and we got the last sort of Star Trek TV thing, neither of which were well received, right? So all of a sudden you have this sci-fi action RPG that's released that sort of cribs a little bit from both, and also trying to sort of etch out its own little niche of what it is. And at the same time, what it's trying to do as an RPG is to sort of bring an RPG to the masses, where people who are sort of afraid of the minutia of RPGs could come to this game and look at it and be like, well, it's a third-person shooter, but it's also this hardcore RPG that appeals to that crowd. And I think what was great about Mass Effect 1 is that it did all of those things in spades. It cribbed from both Star Wars and Star Trek in ways that gave it its own unique identity. And in the process, turned this RPG into something that any type of gamer could sort of gravitate to and identify with. So the big things that it did for me as a game was that in terms of the lore, oftentimes these games with sort of huge backstories, you have all kinds of other different things where you get lore from, right? A criticism I've had of Destiny is, grimoire and stuff like that, and you having to seek out lore within the game that's not necessarily within gameplay. Mass Effect, throughout the course of that first game, you sort of get the entire idea of what's going on in that world, right? The world building is excellent in terms of teaching you the politics of that world, what's happened in the past to sort of get them to where they are. And I think it does a fantastic job of doing that. Additionally, when it comes to hardcore RPG mechanics for a guy like me who loves RPGs, it didn't dumb those things down, right? It was very much a hardcore RPG where you had to worry about your builds, you had to worry about your team's builds, and from build to build, you could play the game very differently, whether it was with different weapons and their upgrades or biotic upgrades and things of that nature. So it did a lot to sort of advance the RPG in ways that fans of the third-person shooter, right? In 2006, we had just gotten Gears of War, and everybody was like, oh my God, third-person shooters. And it was able to sort of piggyback off of that to sort of bolster Mass Effect to another level. So we'll get into the details later on about the other specifics that for me make Mass Effect 1 the superior product.
Let me can I add something to that?
Absolutely, Ains.
Yeah, so let's remember too the history of the actual game development, right? So BioWare, as we classically knew them. We won't get into their more recent examples. Anthem.
Wise.
But BioWare had a legendary reputation, right? For a good reason. And Knights of the Old Republic, to this day, still considered one of the greatest RPGs. Some people consider it one of their favorite Star Wars things of all time, right?
Very true.
So when Obsidian took over for Knights of the Old Republic 2, BioWare, that team, that core team that, fundamentally built that legendary Knights of the Old Republic, that's the team that came on and built Mass Effect. And so kind of going on to what Saab was saying is you not only had this new sci-fi universe that was built and it took you through that entire journey and what that universe was like, but you had the team behind that and the elements behind it of what made Knights of the Old Republic great, the style of combat, the RPG elements, all those things. And it's, I think that's a testament to when you look back at both of those games, not that we're talking about Knights of the Old Republic, but you look back at both of those games, they are legendary games from a developer that really doesn't make games like that anymore.
100%.
Very true.
And-
I also just wanted to say that there at that time when those games came out, I mean, us hardcore BioWare fans knew about great storytelling in video games, but the vast majority of the gaming community always looked at video games as there's no such thing as good storytelling in video games.
Right.
Fair point.
And BioWare, with the way that they approached it, the actual visual aspect of what you're looking at and what you're playing, the cinematic nature to it, the narrative, it really almost kind of like how Final Fantasy VII brought Final Fantasy to the forefront to the casual community. This Mass Effect trilogy really told the casual community that great storytelling can happen in video games.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it was the first time where you really, despite BioWare's pedigree already, it was the first time they introduced this idea of your choices really mattering.
Right.
And you either choosing the Paragon or the Renegade route, and how that changes the outcome of the game, and well, not the outcome of the game necessarily specifically, but the route you take to get there. That was another thing that was introduced there. That again, because of the type of game it was and the way it just looked, I think made it more attractive to more people and made it into this sort of phenomenon that it might not have been if it was just marketed or shown as this hardcore RPG and nothing else. Right. So that, for me, that's sort of the beginnings of why I think Mass Effect 1 is great. I don't know how you want to do this, Cog. We're going to go point for point, or people are going to talk, or
we're gonna go point for point. But once you finish, and then I'll jump in on one of the Mass Effect.
So just brief overview of I guess the points that I think we all have on this side of the argument.
Why is this game great? Because I'm hearing all this bloviating, and I'm not.
Hey, why this game is great?
Why is this game great? I'm not hearing about what's these RPG mechanics that y'all talk about.
Okay, first off.
You don't know what they are. You've been playing too much Mass Effect.
I want you to explain to me shooters. What is these detailed RPG mechanics that are so beloved? Please.
I don't think the developers know what they are.
No, I want them to explain them to Mass Effect 1.
So, first off, world building, like I said before. They gave you an entire world in one game that you don't really need outside context to understand. You don't, 100%. And it happens through the conversations. It happens through just the interactions with NPCs. You understand the politics and the sort of the ideologies behind people in this world. And the big thing about that, story-wise, that I think makes this most compelling is that in this world, human beings are just now 30 years into finding out that they're not alone in this universe. And there is a fear amongst other races that the ascension of human beings is happening too quickly. Right. And so now it's the job of this particular human being, the Spectre, person who becomes the Spectre, Shepard, to sort of show the quality of humanity. Right. And what's interesting about that story is that it gives humans an antagonistic tilt while still making you the protagonist and the hero. Right. But throughout the world, you see why people don't necessarily trust humans, specifically in the primary antagonist of the game, Saren. Right. Saren is very much a compelling character because he is a Turian who hates humans. He hates humans and everything they stand for. At the same time, the decisions that he makes initially seem like it's just deployed to eliminate humankind and humanity. And if you were on Saren's side, Saren sees, yes, that'll be a happy accident as part of what I'm doing. But at the same time, I am also trying to create a world where organics matter with this impending sort of machine sort of revolution that's coming that I think is inevitable that it's coming. So in terms of the antagonist, I think Mass Effect 1's win 100%. Then you add to that the Reaper sovereign who's controlling everything from the background.
What's your namesake? Yeah.
No, well, he bit from me. They owe me money. I'm the original sovereign.
That's the emotional connection.
Exactly. No, not at all. Not at all.
I get
not
it.
At
emotions. We get it. Okay.
Bioware owes me money.
To have an emotional connection.
As does Kevin Sorbo. Kevin Sorbo also owes me money because I got sovereign first.
Kevin Sorbo's got too much debt.
I'll never see a check there. So for me, that antagonist is crazy because when you look at ME2, ME3, it's just basically it's the Reapers at the core of everything, but there's no one person or entity you can point to.
I would disagree. For Mass Effect 3, the Elusive Man is the main.
Well, the Elusive Man, yes,
as well as his assassin. I can't remember his name. The guy they built him up through the books, and then they introduced him in Mass Effect 3, and Harbinger in Mass Effect 2. You would probably say with the Elusive Man also pulling the strings in the background as well. You know you can't trust the Elusive Man from the very, very start of the game, so you know that he is not someone that, even though he appears to be on your side and Shepard, great job on that mission, but really you know what he's doing in the background. I think that, and this may be, if you look at it across all three games, you're looking at good antagonists with really poor final battles for all three games.
Whoa.
And so, for all three.
Well, for all three. We're going to call Mass Effect 2 a good final battle.
We're going to talk about Mass Effect 1's final battle?
Mass Effect it's a final battle. Mass Effect 1.
We're going to talk about Spider
Saren, Lizard Saren?
They're changing it.
Cockroach Saren? That epic final battle?
Hold on.
Wait a minute. The epic final battle is happening at the same time as the Star Battle and the Sovereign and the attack on the Citadel. That one?
Yeah, that's
they have nothing to do with any of that stuff.
Really? Trying to
go about a giant Reaper Pinocchio that you fight at the end of Mass Effect 2.
Yeah, you're fighting a freaking Skeletor.
Skeletor. First of all, Skeletor.
Once again, your great antagonist commits suicide, and then you realize he's been indoctrinated the entire time.
Right.
Basically, he's been a puppet for Sovereign talking through him this entire time. He turns into Spider Saren and he starts bouncing off.
But doesn't that make him more compelling?
No, it's not at all.
It doesn't make it more compelling. Hold on. You just finished telling me that the dude you know was the bad guy. You knew from the beginning was the bad guy.
The entire fight, you have to hide behind a stone slab. And shit from there.
We need a hands up system.
We're gonna need a hands up. We're gonna need a hands up.
Anyone on my team retort the idea that
Steve's up.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. First of all, let's address the whole Saren commits suicide thing. That's only if you get your skills up. That's one version. That's not necessarily the version. You have to actually work on your skills, your communication, and get that all the way up, in an RPG. That's not number 2. I wonder why.
I still haven't heard the definition of what this RPG is. I want to hear the details. I haven't heard that. Why it's an RPG.
I'll go into the RPG moment for a second.
Please.
Okay, first of all, you got an array of weapons. It's not just the regular weapons. You have weapons from different companies, and each company has different stats and stuff.
They're all bad.
So when you're looking at the weapons, you got to think about, hey, what do I want? Do I want faster firepower? Do I want to use a sniper rifle? Plus, you also have the classes, and each class is kind of divided. So you have the soldier class who can use a bit of everything. You have like the sentinels, you can use like the biotics and stuff. So it all depends. That all kind of fuses into this interesting gameplay of what do you want to play as.
Just a quick retort. So basically you're saying that the RPG mechanics are restrictive weapons per class, that only certain classes and individuals can use certain things and be locked out of. That's what we're considering true RPG mechanics.
Come on.
I gotta build.
I'm just saying.
I push back on.
Hold on. So
because the weapons are restricted,
counterpoint on Mass Effect 2B.
No, I'm asking you. I'm
just saying. My
question is, Mass Effect 1 is the true RPG because it's restricting weapons.
Truer RPG.
Hold on.
Why is that good?
Why is that good? Why is that
you're
fun
picking out?
restricted?
You're picking out this much.
Yeah, you're picking out this much.
You're like trying to nail this.
Okay, so then what else is it that doesn't consist of more? All right, let's have it.
We get Travis. Let's Travis.
Let's get Travis.
Okay. I need to push back on everything you guys are saying because it's crazy. It's like you played a different game. It's like you played a different game. Okay, the main villain is not Saren. Oh, dude, it's his ship. Okay, that's like finding out that like the horse that the sheriff is riding was the real bad guy the whole time. Like it's a ridiculous.
Are you
premise.
guys
He's
really
basically-
trying to
he's that-
come in
he's
here
that
and
guy
say that?
in South Park?
Hold
You know
on,
the
hold
guy in
on.
South Park, who's like, I'm above the law.
Okay,
and then he,
so
and
you're
then he
saying-
holds
Hold
his
on.
head over.
But the-
That's
but-
All
but
built
it's
to
a
development.
flock of-
Series
It's a
if the
flock
Reapers
of
aren't-
ships. It's
Hold
a
on.
flock of ships.
Saren is a puppet. He's a
You guys are
puppet.
really
He's
coming
literally
into
a
this.
puppet.
You
He
act
said,
like
"I'm
he's
saying
not.
that
yours
Saren is a
actually
bad
puppet,
antagonist.
A Pinocchio puppet.
No, I'm not saying he's a bad.
We're not saying he's a bad
antagonist.
antagonist.
I'm
We never
saying
said
he's
that.
not as great as you
You
guys
guys
are
make it
pretending
to
he
see.
is.
Oh,
I don't-
I'm not
at
talking
all.
about greatness. I'm talking about better than ME2. That's what I'm
Who
saying.
is the antagonist in
That
ME2?
is such a
I heard you
low
bring
bar.
in ME3 and they're crap ninja, but what is the antagonist in ME2?
As I said
It's
before,
mosquitoes.
the elusive
He's a
hand and
Mass Effect
Harbinger.
2.
These are your antagonists. In
It's
ME2.
not even close to Saren. It's not even
Not even
close.
close.
Saren
Wait, hold on.
is
We
a
got
puppet.
before we continue. We got the legendary
wait.
Bill Stillwell in the building.
Bill.
yo.
Bill.
And he's got a
Welcome.
facts board.
Oh my goodness. Here we
Nothing to
go.
do with this. That's just some stuff I was keeping notes from before.
Sure. It says Mass Effect 1 better than that. And then you got Bears greater than I feel personally attacked. I see
Yeah,
Bears
me too.
versus
Me
Why?
too.
I do actually have to
Snickers
know why
versus
it's
Milky
Cog out of
Way?
position
That
on so many
entire
topics.
facts board is gone.
This
Because he has
is this
Bears
why-
greater than anything. The Bears are
Yeah, I agree with
This
Bill.
is
The Bears
Cog
are
is
greater
always
than the
wrong
Niners. Let's
board.
go, Bill.
This is it.
Let's
This
go,
is
Bill.
it.
Sorry, like,
But Cog,
Okay.
real quick,
Yes.
real quick. Can I?
and then we gotta
can I
let them go.
retort-
We gotta let them go after.
Can I
You
retort the
retort and then they
whole
go.
RPG element stuff.
Yes, please.
Everything that Steven brought up about how you got these restrictive elements and the different class. Ooh, if I want to be a soldier, I can do this. If I'm gonna be a vanguard, I can't use certain weapons. Steve, tell me why for the legendary edition they undid all that.
Yes.
Because
And
the
I
new
put the
BioWare
link
ain't that
for
Because
it.
it's a
good.
15-year-old
because-
game, and we all
because
played
the-
it already. That's why.
No, because
That's why they did
developers
it. Because
said
that stuff was
too.
still in
I put
ME2.
the
You
link-
can't even play
I
that
put the
angle.
link
That
in the
stuff was still in
private
ME2.
chat.
It was
Yes.
still in
Check
ME3.
out
More restrictive than
gameplay.
ME3.
Gameplay calibrations from EA, from BioWare themselves,
You
and
just
they go
said it.
through
You just
all
said
the
it.
changes
From EA.
I was gonna say, so just so I'm
Dude,
clear,
It's
you're
EA's
saying-
website. It's BioWare that wrote it. EA didn't write this. BioWare wrote it. Click the
Your,
link. Look
your
at it.
stance is that we should abide by the Legendary Edition changes because modern BioWare is that much better than Mass Effect 1 era BioWare. Is that accurate?
I am saying no, that's not accurate. What I am saying is that the actual developers who made the game
They
realized
didn't make the original
mistakes.
game. They're not the
Yeah,
same
they're
developers. They're not
different
there.
Some of them are. Mike,
They're an
like Mike
assortment,
Gamble,
yes.
for
A motley
example,
crew.
is a part of this. He is. Now look,
So Mike
they
Gamble
realized-
he did all of this.
they realized that this stuff was bad. The Mako controls the accuracy.
Oh, we going
bad. The
Oh,
cover
boy.
shooting abysmal.
Horrible.
All of this stuff.
Yeah,
Horrible.
it's all
Okay,
bad.
so
Also, the
disgusting.
RPG mechanics
And
are
they
not a
fixed
virtue.
it.
The
Also-
RPG mechanics are not a virtue. You guys are like, oh, they've got all these weapons, but they're not
Okay.
fun.
So
Like,
hold on,
they're
hold
and
on.
I'll tell
good.
you this, though.
It's
I'll tell you
like,
this.
It's
Hold
like
on,
they were like,
hold
hey,
on.
let's do that Borderlands random loot thing, except for
Nope.
every gun's uninteresting.
That's not
If
even
they're not a
based on the
virtue,
premise of
then
the
why
game.
did they
It's
bring them
terrible.
back for Mass Effect 3?
Why did what bring back for Mass Effect 3?
Mass Effect 3, the game that
Literally,
everyone says
any
is amazing.
conversation you look about development from BioWare says, yes, we heard our fans. In Mass Effect 2, we removed way too much, so we brought things back for 3.
Way
If
too
they're
simple.
not, if they weren't wanted, then why the hell did they bring them back if Mass Effect 2 was so good?
This
On
whole
top-
idea that, like, dude, I get on this about Destiny too. Like, oh, more guns is good. It's like that's not true.
You're
dude.
not
Like,
answering my
Halo
question.
Halo has.
You're
like,
not
12
answering my
weapons.
question.
Okay, so here's the answer. It was a mistake. And
Oh, so now
the-
BioWare's wrong. Okay, okay, got it.
Yes, they're wrong. Did you play Mass Effect 3 or Andromeda? They're wrong.
Let me
on
ask
that.
you this. Let me ask you this. If BioWare isn't gobbled up by EA going into Mass Effect 2, do you think the changes that were made to Mass Effect 2 in terms of how they streamlined it would have occurred?
Hell no.
No.
Not a chance in
My
hell.
recollection is that EA bought BioWare right near the end of development. That the game was basically like more than halfway
No,
done. Or
that
or
was
closer to
That's
that.
the end of development of 1.
Yeah,
No,
that
before
was the
Dragon
development
Age.
of 1.
Yeah.
If you look at the history of BioWare when they first started with EA, all of their games from like Dragon Age, Awakenings, Dragon Age 2, definitely Dragon Age 2, which only had a 15-month cycle.
Yeah.
Right.
All of those games were basically, they had very hard end dates. Like, you have to end this because I want your team working on this something else. like immediately, and they really never really gave them a lot of time. So that is true that they were crunched for time, but that's literally for like all of these games that we're talking about, except for Mass Effect 1, which honestly, with the way those controls were, they should have given a little bit more time on that. Right. But anyway, I mean, like it's just that, you know, that's how EA is. EA didn't give them a ton of time there.
Right.
But
I'm sorry, I want to get Hogue and Bills. We got to get them in because they haven't got a chance to get them.
Sure. Did you call on me? I'm sorry.
No, please.
100%.
Oh no, absolutely. I just wanted to underline and put an exclamation point on something Sav said, because I think he did a great job explaining the plot, explaining how, obviously, as we can all agree, Saren's a wonderful bad guy with Sovereign as his wonderful ship. But more importantly than the specifics, I'm not interested in the role-playing mechanics. I know you want to talk about them. I don't care. I'm not interested in the Mako. I don't care.
Oh, you don't care
My
about
money,
the imperfections. Okay.
playing Knights of the Old Republic, Jade Empire, Dragon Age, Mass Effect 1, whatever it is, I don't play role-playing games for their mechanics. I played Final Fantasy.
You don't play it for good gameplay. Got it.
No, I don't play them. It's turn-based. You hit attack. You try to get through. It's about building up a story. And Mass Effect 1, I think Sav didn't put enough emphasis on the creative difficulty of building a world to such granular detail that every bit of plot, every bit of character, everything that you do, every place that you see, every race that you meet builds on itself to create a world that is happening not just on your screen, but outside the borders of the screen, not just in the encyclopedia entries, which are awesomely voiced, and one of my favorite little like encyclopedia codices in the history of video games, but everywhere, all at once. And everything that came after Mass Effect 1 is built on what they built in that game. You want to talk about why Mass Effect 1 is better than Mass Effect 2? It's because Mass Effect 2 is great. It's a fun game. Love it. But it is built off of the shoulders of giants. What they did with Mass Effect 1, going in, doing the homework, every single thing that is missing in the modern age of cinema and very often video games, whether it's the Disney Star Wars trilogy or, you know, anything Disney, really, that lacks that world building, that lacks that detail, that doesn't allow you to invest yourself in the story to get involved. So when you see those Reapers coming from between galaxies, that you think about the rest of the trilogy, and you're disappointed when you don't really address that story in Mass Effect 2. And maybe you have a nice little side journey that doesn't really go anywhere, and we could talk about it.
Oh,
he's wild.
He's wild right now. He's wild right now.
I got a response.
How is it a side journey?
Look, I agree. I agree with what most of Hogue says. Right? I think it's an accomplishment of BioWare for building that universe the way they did. It is the biggest reason why Mass Effect is great, in my opinion. And yes, I'm going to praise Mass Effect 1, even though I'm on Mass Effect 2, because I understand that without Mass Effect 1, we don't get a Mass Effect 2, right? But there are still some issues I have with Mass Effect that the sequels improved upon. I think everybody here, for the most part, will agree that the combat is extremely clunky in Mass Effect 1 to the point where they're going to make it like Mass Effect 2. The pacing is inconsistent. The exploration in the Mako is copy-paste. It controls horribly. Like, one of the biggest things I was looking forward to Mass Effect was exploring these worlds, but then you actually get to explore the world, and they're just the same things. They're barren. The side quests are they're the same exact thing. But what it does well is build that universe, right? Where it's like this overarching plot of like, here come the humans, here's the Citadel, here's all these races, here's the history. Saren's the best villain in the Mass Effect universe. And he's a very sympathetic when you actually kind of realize what he's trying to accomplish. He's trying to like sort of bring peace between the Reapers and everybody. So like, I get that. But Mass Effect 2 is a better game overall. And I'm not even going to touch on like how, the combat's better. So it's an actual better game. You can actually have a better experience playing it for 40 hours. And because it's the story that gripped me in Mass Effect 2. The story is much more personal in Mass Effect 2. Which is why it's a better game for, at least for me, right? Mass Effect 1, it's a galaxy spanning game. It's about the us versus the Reapers, and it introduces a world, which is great. But Mass Effect 2 takes it to a personal level, and usually more personal stories are better, right? You get these characters. And I understand there's the lack of urgency in Mass Effect 2, right? You have the collectors, but then you spend a lot of your time going to do the loyalty missions, right? But that's why the game's better, because you spend all this time with your crew, all 12 of them. The characters are all better than Mass Effect 1.
Yes.
You get to understand who they are, what makes them tick, right? Their goals for the future, their their fears, right? And then you set up a situation where they're your crew, and then it actually goes into the final battle where you run the suicide mission,
the greatest mission of all time in video games.
So everything that
the greatest mission of all time in video games.
Going down a hallway, going down a hallway 12 times, the greatest mission ever. That's how it is.
Hold on, so
it's
that totally unique scenario where a ragtag group.
Can you name another game that did that? Wait, hold on, Saul. Can you name another game that did that? Can you name another game that did that? Exactly.
Off of every
exactly.
What does that have to do with? I just finished watching that 5 minutes ago on my TV.
On video games.
I'm not saying
every
it's
Metal
unique,
Gear
but it
has a
builds
better
upon the foundations of what Mass Effect was trying to accomplish, right? Mass Effect 1 didn't have that, right? And I'll give you, Saren's a better villain. I'll give you that the Sovereign reveal is probably the best 5 minutes in the entire Mass Effect trilogy, where he's like, you finally understand what was really going on. Like, those 5 minutes are the best.
Great scene.
Yes,
but the personal connections to the characters, the loyalty missions, and then all leading up to, okay, we need to basically have a mission here where everybody can die, and everybody can die if you screw it up. If you didn't do the loyalty missions, if you didn't put them into their
including Shepard.
I'm not going to be aggressive on this, but can I make a comment on the suicide mission? Because I've always found this to be interesting. I have understood now, watching everything on the internet and seeing everybody play it, that you can screw it up. I, just kind of paying attention to who could do what, didn't lose a person in the suicide mission. And I think that at least a lot of people's experiences was maybe not losing anyone, but not losing many people. Like, if you're paying attention, they call it a suicide mission for the whole game. And I really didn't find it to be that damaging to my crew or its stakes. Did the Mass Effect 2 team, did you find that you lost people? Did you have more of that?
Yeah, because it came down to, besides the fact of loyalty missions and that relationship that you built with each individual character, you also had to position them in the right spaces based on their skill set, right? So it was a combination of both factors, and the fact that every single member, I got you, Steve. I know you've been patient. Every single member, like I said, had a role, and you built this relationship. So the coolest part about it was that if you were a complete idiot as well, Shepard could die. You know what I'm saying? So that I thought was interesting. But I want to get Steve, because Steve been patient, and then we get back.
All right. So let's talk about those characterizations here in that world. The incredibly condensed thing. Did you have fun shooting mines onto other planets as your exploratory
I loved it.
situation?
Way more fun than
way more fun than the
vibrations.
It
was so controller on your
driving around on the Mako that you barely
That's number
control with a map that looked like something from Atari 2600.
But let's call fraud here. Let's call fraud here. You guys have all of these opinions based on a game that came out 3 years later. You didn't feel that way when you played the game.
I hated it
right now. No, you didn't.
I didn't. Hold on. Fraud on Saul. No. I didn't hate being on the. Let me get you. I'm tired.
I'm
tired. Here's the thing. Y'all love the thing with Mass Effect lovers. Y'all love the illusion of an RPG. That is not a true RPG. That is an illusion of going to the world. When you go out to the world, I'm going to the planet. Hold on. It's the same bland blue and red colored planets with awful controls. The makeup was terrible, and it's the same sand monster that you fought. You like the illusion of RPG. You like the illusion of RPG mechanics.
It's No Man's Sky at launch.
Thank you.
Those mercenaries.
This is the thing.
Those mercenaries. I'm telling you, there's one constructor or builder out there who got rich off of all these mercenaries.
It was the elusive man.
The same base.
The same base.
How is it? I'm like, I go take on a whole different group, and they got the same exact base layout.
Bro, copy-pasted buildings, the same whack, redundant sand monster. It was awful.
God.
Give me
And you
shooting a
loved
pro
it when it came out.
Hold on, let me shoot a mine.
I felt
let me
that
shoot
way
a mine.
then.
That's my exploratory.
I'd rather that.
I love it.
And
It's
then I
just
can
got
upgrade
things that are
stuff.
annoying about it.
And then you gotta talk about weapon. You gotta talk about the characterizations. Listen, yeah, you gotta be an idiot to fuck up the whole ending. You gotta be really stupid.
You gotta be stupid.
Because I've played that game countless times, never lost a guy, never.
Or
And
you can just not do the side quests. Like lots of people don't do the side quests.
Yeah.
Why would you not do the
can't
side
win.
quest when that's the only content
you bought the
available
game.
in
That's
Mass
the whole-
Effect?
You just said that's the best content that ME2 had.
That is the
If you don't
content.
think it's
There
the
are
content, what
I
else
don't
is
think
it?
there's any
There
argument
are
that the
some people
overarching
that don't
story
do
in
that
2 is
stuff.
not.
And if they
Well,
don't do
Also,
the
no,
side
also,
loyalty
it's
mission,
deeper
what
than
else
that. Hold
does
on, hold
ME2
on, hold on.
have?
It's deeper
hold
than
on.
that as
We
well.
doing that? We doing
Because-
that, Ains?
We haven't heard you guys.
All we
All you've
doing-
done is
Okay,
talk about
let me talk. Let me
mechanics
All right, go ahead, Travis. I've been
and
talking a
bareness.
lot.
You haven't
I'll
told
talk
us.
I'm gonna tell y'all,
positively
Blake. I'm
about
gonna let
Mass
Travis
Effect
go.
2.
Oh well, Rand did a very eloquent speech about the loyalty missions.
I
Which
just
agree.
gave a reason why I think Mass Effect 2 is better. I like
Yeah,
the
and the
first
loyalty
more.
missions
I
are awesome. I
respect
don't
that.
think we're doubting any of that.
I
But
I
all you
review
guys
games
keep
for a
saying
living.
is bland, bad controls.
Yeah. So
And
the
fake
fundamental.
and fake RPG mechanics.
But this is
and
the thing. So that
illusion
means
of
your
RPG.
fundamental argument is that the game that came out 3 years later looks, runs, and plays better than the older one.
And,
Well,
it was a more fun
the
game. Hold on.
obvious-
And it was a more
Bad
fun
argument.
game.
The
And it was a
obvious
fun-
improvements you would get.
No, what you mean?
Is a debate
I got it.
look,
It's a
about
debate.
which game is better.
right? So I got to look at
like
what's
that-
presented.
I mean, like, look, your argument is that Mass Effect 1 set up the lore, all of that stuff.
No,
the
that's part of it.
foundation.
That's
Okay,
part
that's
of it.
part of it. But
That's
but,
part
but,
of it.
but,
That's
but,
me,
But
you
no
know.
one says that Uncharted 1 is better than Uncharted 2.
No,
Uncharted
but
1
Uncharted
may have
1
set
didn't
things
turn
up, but
into a
Uncharted
single button
2
press game
is
either.
way better than that game.
Single
Everything
button
that you're
press.
So
talking about the universe of
But
Mass
this is-
Effect is in Mass Effect.
This is
2.
the argument that we have.
No,
though.
wait. You want me to
You're acting
give
like-
you an
okay.
argument?
That
of
analogy
why
is-
Mass Effect
that analogy
is
is
The
so
analogy
far out
is,
there, I
is,
can't
is
even see
flawed.
it.
You know why?
No.
Because when you take Uncharted 1 and you look at the through line to Uncharted 2, you see the improvements there. You see what was missing in 1 that's improved upon in 2. For me, again, and this is a subjective thing.
You exactly
Yeah.
what's
I-
missing
no,
in
no, no.
1 that's improved.
What's
upon.
missing in
What
1 is
happened in
any
2
semblance of
for
a
me,
game.
for me, and probably a lot of the guys on my panel. The things
You're
that
a
made Mass
visual
Effect
novel.
1
That's
special,
what it
the
is.
things
Mass
that
Effect
made
1's a
Mass
proof
Effect
of
1
concept.
special were absolutely eliminated in 2, and that's my issue with 2. Right?
Okay.
The grandeur of what they were attempting to do in 1, right? Rather than expand on it in 2, they looked at it and said, "We're cutting this."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Mass Effect 1 was bloated. It was like 30 hours longer than it should have been. It's you exploring all of these planets and doing side quests that aren't fun. He's saying, Ain said that you turned it into a single button shooter. Okay, well, at least it's something. Mass Effect 1 did not know what it was. You guys are talking about how the virtues of,
And that's what
it's
makes
such a
it
complicated
great.
Talking about
system
That's what makes
that
it
wasn't
great.
designed at all, that doesn't have any sort of like sandbox designed around its weapons. It's basic. Sometimes you have to trim fat to actually make a focused story, and Mass Effect 2 does that wonderfully. Does
Mass Effect 2 has a focused story. That's your position.
Trim too
Yes.
much.
Mass Effect 2 is a
trimmed
Over
perfectly
one,
pleasant
dude, over
series
one,
of
I'm not
stories.
here on
focused
Mako.
They're about a
on-
bunch of
on
disparate characters
doing the
that end in a
suicide
fight
mission.
across
That's
the
the
galaxy
focus.
with a skeleton robot. I have no problem with people liking Mass Effect
And
2, but
listen,
in calling it a
Mass Effect
focused
2
story.
is you're doing everything for a single mission. We got to do this mission. We're
That
assembling
is
a crew. It's that
focused
thing.
story.
It's a very focused.
That's a
Mass
season
Effect
of
1
Buffy
is like,
that has a
hey,
finale,
Right.
and a bunch of
Can I
episodes.
jump
It's-
in?
Don't you
what it is.
dare!
Quiet, listen.
But hold
It's
on.
them
Don't you
creating.
dare
It's them
disrespect
creating.
Buffy the
a-
Vampire Slayer.
It's them creating a contrived scenario.
I'm
A
listening.
contrived scenario, so you can feel for these characters.
Yep.
And if
A
you
contrived
feel for them-
scenario.
Right, they
you
create.
don't
So
have
there
a
was no
good
character
antagonist.
development. There was no character
Curated.
development.
No, but
don't have a
that
good
was the whole
antagonist.
point of that
It's a
game.
TV
This is the
season.
thing. Everything else around it, the story, the overarching story, didn't matter. All this.
What?
That's
Wait, hold
That's
no
so
fraud.
false.
That's a fraud.
Hold
I
on,
can't let that go.
hold on, Carl.
That is.
hold on,
All
hold on.
right, get slow. Go ahead. 'Cause
This is why
I'm
that's
upset.
false. Because it is stated in Mass Effect 3. It's stated by the one Prothean that's still alive
Mhm.
that this
You get the
cycle,
downloadable
everything that happened into with them taking the humans and repurposing them. This is what they did to the Protheans. This is what they do every cycle. This would have happened whether Shepard failed at the end of Mass Effect 1 or not. And the Prothean also said that the war started before he was even born. The Reapers took over a century to eliminate the previous advanced civilizations. This would have happened regardless. So the argument that Mass Effect 2 was pointless, it would have never happened, it should have never happened, is false.
That's not the argument.
You're arguing it from inside the universe. Are you familiar with the term retcon? Because you're bringing
That's
in
not
Mass
a
Effect
retcon.
3.
A retcon is when they establish something and then you change it.
One is a series
That's not a
coming for the
retcon.
universe.
That's just storytelling.
Mass Effect 3 is a series
I
of Reapers coming
understand
for the
now
universe.
why Hogue has so many problems with storytelling. And this is why, okay?
Let's get Bill in here.
Let's get Bill in. And I'm coming for Hogue.
Wait, I still
I'm coming in late
because of Mass Effect 2. That's what I'm
coming in
to
late. It's been interesting to hear because I have no idea where you all started from. I'm also not like I'll say Rand. Congrats for having like the most coherent thread.
Oh my god!
So I've joined, even though I don't agree with you. I think it's interesting because I don't know. So I apologize. Like I'm in the Mass Effect 1 camp, but not because I want to tear down 2.
No, not at all.
Well. I don't think
anybody
is, right?
We love it, but when we get attacked,
one guy can't. Stop. One guys can't give 2 any credit. It burns their soul. It burns their soul to say it's credit. Ainsley know it. He just trying to be nice now for the company. It burns his soul.
Mass Effect 2 is an amazing third-person.
Mass Effect 2 guys can acknowledge Mass Effect 1 set up an amazing universe and characters. We all agree that. But Mass Effect 1 guys cannot even
but
give
that's why
to.
we think it's better.
I
mean, I wish you were a sequel to 1.
Let Bill finish.
Boy, try to get in against all these professional talkers. Right, listen, here's the deal. Mass Effect 1 for me was a more coherent and concise story that created urgency. What was going on with it? Like, it was when you sat down not knowing where this was going to go, not knowing what you were going to do because it was a new world, it was a new experience. It drove a really, really strong story. I loved Mass Effect 2 as well, but I'm sorry, it was also this sort of casual dating sim where you just had to run around and build out your life story with all your friends before the game ended. And if you didn't do that, it lost all of its urgency, which it didn't have much of to begin with. And I acknowledge it's a better game, right? In terms of mechanics. In terms of how it's played.
So we're having definitional problems, Cog. It doesn't mean game like you mean game.
No, he said it's a better game. The case is closed. He just said it. The case is closed. He said it's a better game. Case is closed. That's it.
I want to know why.
That's it. I heard what I needed to hear.
It plays better.
As Sav brought up, like, tech gets better all the time, right? And so games improve in terms of visual fidelity, control fidelity. Now, I also think everybody talking crap about the Mako and on the base, it wasn't that bad.
It was
pretty bad.
It wasn't what?
It's not good.
Look,
Bill,
it was better than Moon Patrol, but it wasn't.
Bill, you could be on a rock, and the enemy could be in front of you. And you couldn't hit that enemy accurately just because you were on a higher platform. There was
what are you doing on a rock, man?
How could these guys are
the entire all the planets were rocks.
Say it this way. I'm gonna say it.
Let Bill finish.
I think Mass Effect 1 story was a better story.
Okay.
And I think it did more for driving an end-to-end narrative so that when you finish that game, you're ready to play it.
Yes.
You were ready to move on to another experience. It was complete. It was whole. I love Mass Effect 2 as well, but it's the difference between Star Wars and Attack of the Clones, right? It may look better. It may have better special effects. It may be its own story that builds out on a future, but the individual story from Mass Effect 1 had a sense of urgency and drive from start to finish that I don't think 2 came anywhere near. 2, there was too much time burned in 2 where it pulled you out of that story because you had to go run the other sets of learning about what was driving me. Hey, baby, you're driving around, and where do you want to go learn about your home planet? I'm sorry, it just took too much out of that very tight story loop. and made it less of
Let's
an
get Miranda
impactful
though.
game.
Let's get Miranda.
I want to hear from Miranda.
Let's get from Miranda.
Lawson.
You want to hear from Miranda? You want to hear from Miranda? Look, Miranda Lawson. Miranda Lawson needs to speak here. Sir. Okay, let's.
Got a lot of bass in your voice, Miranda.
I was gonna say, I didn't know what the hell bass went on
Yo,
here.
Cerberus be going to do numbers off you.
Engineered for
Lazarus Project. I don't know what
Let's
happened.
just come at this. So let's just come at this from an actual fact that we actually know of. Mass Effect 2. So way more than 1 and 3.
Oh, here comes
Wait, hold
success.
on.
It's success.
No,
Yes,
just
I know.
just
I know it
no,
hurts.
Just
I know.
numbers. No, just numbers. Just numbers. I can only speak from my own personal experience inside of Mass Effect. Rand is 100% right. It felt like Mass Effect 1 to me was the experiment that they were trying to accomplish when they wanted to like build this grandiose shooter and tie these RPG elements into the game with the promise of this space exploration that was gonna go beyond and go boldly where no other man has gone before. Because like you said earlier, Saul, it came right after we just got through with the prequels with Star Wars, and we had just finished the last Star Wars when it came to the TV series and stuff. So they were really banking on that being the hallmark that like get people to want to really care about the story that was going to happen in this game. Right. The problem for me was you stayed in that Citadel, like, what was it, 4 or 5 hours in the Citadel, running around, being stuck on elevators for half a century. The whole okay, and then we don't even And the Citadel was the highlight.
They say it's foul on the field if you say technical.
But the Citadel in Mass Effect 2 was a studio apartment.
Listen,
it literally was a studio.
It was. And it was more condensed and more fun.
Guess what? No, listen.
Yo,
so
everybody
to me,
that you had to find was in one corridor.
Listen, so to me, like I said, so to me, once you left the Citadel, I was expecting like the world to just open up. And guess what you do? Like there's some great parts in Mass Effect 1, like the whole wreck scene when you got to make a decision. You got to make a decision on all these. There were some amazing decisions that had to happen inside of Mass Effect 1 before you even got to Mass Effect 2. But guess what? A lot of people didn't even get to that point because guess what? I could only speak for myself and the people in my circle. A lot of people dropped
Mass Effect 1 when I tried to get them into the series.
As soon as they got out of the Citadel and the world opened up, it was like, what the hell do I do? You go around to these planets and you land on them and there's nothing to do. And you got this one stationary station in there that you got to go through and these dumb turrets. And then you're dealing with the crappy Mako and everything. So people like, you know what? I'm done. Yes. But guess what happened? 3 years later?
Talk to him.
Mass Effect 2. Mass Effect 2 came out.
Talk to him.
Listen, Mass Effect 2 released. Mass Effect 2 came out. And all of the things, like my brother told me, I wasn't even interested in it. I was like, no, I couldn't stand the first one because of how they did the RP, they did the elements inside the game. And he was like, yo, play the second one. And literally all I did was the first mission. And I was like, yo, this already has, I got to where I was waking up on the table and they was like, you got to create your character and everything. And I was like, oh, no, I'm not doing this. I got to go play Mass Effect 1 so I could bring my character going forward to play this. So for me and a lot of people like me, it took the experience of seeing what the promise of Mass Effect 2 could be versus what we already saw in Mass Effect 1. And then that speaks in the numbers of the people that bought it. Because guess what? You would think that people would say Mass Effect 3 would probably sell better than Mass Effect 3, Mass Effect the first one. But guess what? Mass Effect 1 still sold better than Mass Effect 3. So in Mass Effect 3, it's considered to be the better version of a game overall.
Now wait a minute.
That's not unique though in the industry for a new franchise to take time to become established, but then become successful and draw a much larger audience in on its sequel.
No, and I was going to say
Borderlands 2. Like, I mean, that's not irrelevant. It doesn't imply.
But most people went back to go play the first one after experiencing the second one. Right. Like, there's a reason that I can literally walk out, literally walk on my sales floor right now and ask just a random person that knows nothing. If they know anything about Mass Effect, I guarantee you 8 out of 10 people are going to tell you that, yo, Mass Effect 2 was like I don't know what crack they were on when they made that game, but it was incredible. There was random people. I was in a party with Cognito. We were playing Gambit, and the dude texted me, and I said, "Oh, I like your icon." He had the N7 helmet on his profile. My man texted me back, was like, "Bro, I am so hyped for that game coming out next week. Mass Effect 2 over everything. That's all I care about."
We know it's universally considered
and that is the universal. Like, to me,
don't even have to.
I thought we were talking facts.
So
Why are we just yelling about opinions? What is this?
So, well, it's all opinions. Well, listen, it's all opinions at the end of the day. This is all.
But you're just saying random guys are messaging you that it's better. What's that got to do with anything?
But it's not about random. It's not about
random using sales here.
I think Steven has something.
High-selling game is every year.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Hog. Get this, Steven.
Well, no, I mean, it's not a role-playing game that sells the most games every year. It's Call of Duty. Yeah, they made Mass Effect more Call of Duty-esque. That's great.
It's true. They did though.
Streamlined.
Ask you a question.
Not true.
That's not true.
Let me ask you this.
What happened?
The same developers of the game know it's
If
true.
you go look at the front box art on Destiny 2, that's what Activision did to Destiny.
Well, it made it a better game, though.
Made it a better game.
Destiny a better game.
Yeah.
You're talking
I mean, Mass Effect. It's like Bill already said. Mass Effect 2 is a better game than Mass Effect 1.
They didn't make it a better RPG.
But I've already established that I'm not ruling on role-playing games.
I got a question
for you.
Answer this question. Wait, answer this question for me then. Let me answer this question for me then. Why can anybody tell me a reason why Mass Effect 1 even exists inside this trilogy? It doesn't even have to exist.
Yeah, it does. It sets the
No, it
pieces
doesn't.
stuff. That's
No, it
a
doesn't.
storytelling
If you
element.
take Mass Effect, no.
Yes, it
If
does.
you take
Why are
Mass
bug
Effect-
creatures
no,
coming down all of a sudden?
Listen, if
There's
you
no
take
reason
Mass
for that to
Effect
happen.
1,
You kidding
if you
me? I'm
take
sorry
Mass-
that the
listen,
American
listen, if you
education
take
system has
Mass
failed
Effect
you
1
in that
completely
aspect.
delete it.
Oh my
If you
gosh.
take
Number
Mass Effect
two.
1,
That's
it's
actually pretty
No,
funny.
no reason to
because
play.
That's it.
At the end of
I'm
Mass
sorry.
Effect 1, you've got the people
two
coming
guys gotta
in.
take the whole
It's time to cut them off.
Their whole
Yeah.
5-minute ordeal. They get to talk about everything about Mass Effect 2 and how it makes them feel. That has nothing to do with the situation with us trying to talk about Mass Effect 1. Mass Effect 2, guys, you just gotta stand up and just give your 15
you see how the
minutes
rest of
speeches.
Wait, stand up for a
Mass
game that
Effect
they
1
literally
guys can't
gave
get a
you
single
prompts?
word in.
Wait.
You see how the rest of
Are you
your
trying to run
team
the
stay
clock
quiet,
out?
right?
What time
No,
does
I'm
this
listening.
end? What time does this
wait.
end? Because I feel like everyone talking about Mass Effect 2, well, it's better. Guess what? You're just trying to run that clock out, man. You don't have to run substance to talk about. I gotta talk about the Mako for the 8th time in a row because that's the only problem I had with the game. You know, you just gotta keep on going with that kind of stuff because you got nothing else to talk about.
No, that's not what we're doing.
I had a chance to put my argument out.
Let Ains go, and then Travis.
All right. And then Travis. Okay, so let me ask you this question then.
Yeah.
All we've heard and all we typically hear in this debate is that Mass Effect 1's mechanics were dated, and they are. I think we
awful.
Yeah, we
awful.
We have no problem admitting
Please
that.
stay awful.
100%.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. We
They're
are
dated.
there.
They're clunky.
Yes.
Not arguing.
Okay.
Not arguing.
Cool.
So all we ever hear from you guys, the ME2 guys, is they streamlined it, they made it better, the action's better into it's a better game, right?
And removed unnecessary and unfun mechanics from
Fine.
I have more to say, but I haven't really said my piece yet.
Well, I also said Mass Effect 2.
I
haven't even asked my question.
Let Ains finish.
I didn't even ask the question yet.
My bad. Go ahead.
If that's your case, because that's all we've heard so far,
That's
all we ever hear.
That's not our case.
If that's your
not
case,
just our case, though. That's the beginning of the end for you.
I mean,
Continue.
I said Mass
I
Effect
haven't heard
2 is-
anything else.
Okay, no, because y'all thinking that's all we got. I'm just waiting for y'all to finish.
Just hold on.
I said that's a better story too.
Rand
So
does.
I mean,
if that's your case, then why is ME3 not the better game, which has better shooting than 2, better cover mechanics than 2, better abilities than 2, better combat than 2? Everything that you guys love about 2 over 1 is better in 3 than it is 2.
I can answer that. I can answer
that as well.
The only reason that we accept...
you got it.
One more statement, Cole.
Okay.
The only reason that we argue that 1 is the best outside of those mechanics is because when you look at, like Bill said, Saul said, Steve said, when you look at the overall arc of the story, the antagonist, how it fits the universe, the development of the story narrative through a game, 1 is the best. And when you're talking about an RPG,
which I
story
haven't defined. Oh yeah, y'all
matters.
still haven't defined what this great RPG mechanic. I've been waiting.
Yeah.
I've been waiting. None of you could give me what is the great RPG mechanics of this game. None of
you.
Customize what?
You can customize your builds, the guns.
Oh, so again, limiting and restricting guns to classes.
Absolutely.
You can do that in every single
You can do that in every single Mass Effect game. That's what I'm trying to say. There's this.
You're playing a role.
Let me ask you.
Literally just countered that argument. You can do that in every single Mass Effect game.
Yeah,
you can change Shepard and the rest of the crew's abilities, where you just want to spec into, which abilities you want to max out. You can do that in literally every single Mass Effect.
Does it matter in the same way? Does it matter in the same way?
I still didn't answer my question.
Yeah, what's
does it matter?
I just
about Mass Effect 3?
Does it matter in the same way that it does in 1?
Well, hold on. Let me answer Aim's question first.
Go ahead, Slomo.
Okay, so the reason why Mass Effect 2 is still better than Mass Effect 3, for a lot of people, it's the ending. But let me go outside of the ending, because the ending really, it's the end of the trilogy. It really ruined it for a lot of people, because we were kind of marketed and told a different way.
I think we're all in
agreement.
Yeah.
But outside of that, the crew that they introduced for 3 was subpar compared to 1 and 2.
Yep.
The characters were the new characters in your crew were not compelling or interesting whatsoever.
Yep.
And then also you had basically the Mass Effect 2 characters Mass Effect 1 characters that came back again, but there was really nothing more to really explore with their stories in 3. And then you would see some of your Mass Effect 2 crew again, but it really was just wrapping up what was already established in Mass Effect 2. 3 had, as you said, great controls, great combat, and it looked better than both of the previous 2 games.
Absolutely.
Had great little moments like Shepard and Shepard and the crew taking on the elusive man at his base.
Yeah.
Those were great moments. The running towards the teleporter before the Reaper shoots you down at the very end. Great moments. But it all falls apart because the overall ending of the game just let everyone down, and that's sour taste. Yeah. Now, if I can real quick, I'll give you my argument of why ME2 is better than ME1.
Let's go slow.
So, to kind of piggyback off of what Rand said about the story and being personal and getting to know your crew, I disagree with the assertion that there is no tension, that there is no pace to it, that there's no giddy up, hurry up kind of feel. Exactly. If you notice that if you do trigger certain actual main missions before you do all the loyalty quests in Mass Effect 2, you will have no time to finish them before your crew starts to get liquidated by the collectors.
Correct.
That you have to do things in a certain order. Do you notice that you could get someone's loyalty? For example, you could get Miranda's loyalty, do her loyalty quest. Then if you do Jack's loyalty quest, they get into an argument.
Yes.
And if you don't have enough Renegade or Paragon points to diffuse the situation, whoever you choose, you lose the loyalty of the other.
Right.
That kind of dilemmas, they don't occur in Mass Effect 1.
Interpersonal relationships.
I mean,
that's an RPG mechanic, by the way.
Yeah, that's actually RPG.
The only one it has
is in the first one.
No, it's more. But the
least
only
it has
one
some.
you get in Mass Effect 1 is with Rex.
With Rex and Verba, yeah, that's it.
Wait, look, it's
What's
a
wrong
dating.
with that? Dating
hey,
sims
Bill,
are
it's a
great.
dating
Who's shitting on
sim in
dating
Mass
sims
Effect
right
1. Actually,
No, I'm
all the
saying what
Bioware games are dating sims. I mean, we
They
can
are.
name every
They
single
are.
one of them,
Yeah, they are.
and you can get some romance. Like you play some Dragon Age. Look, I got caught up with my wife. My wife came in the room when in Dragon Age where my warden was about to get down with Liliana. I was like, hey,
I
look,
think fundamentally,
the whole
we
game
might
I like
play
this,
role-playing
you know?
games for different reasons.
My
Wait,
yeah, but this is the thing
Hold
though.
on,
I think in Mass Effect 2,
Stop, hold on. I just wanted to finish up what I was saying.
Okay.
I think something that we haven't even mentioned yet is the DLC. And that is a part of the package as well.
I don't know.
Layers-
That's not part of the game?
Yes.
Oh,
What do you mean?
okay.
DLC that comes out afterwards.
That's not part of the game.
It's
now.
still part of the
great.
game.
Don't get me
It's
wrong.
not part of the
Great.
game now.
Mass
Okay.
Effect 1
Layer-
You scared to mention the
layer-
DLC now. I got
Yeah,
you.
because
I mean,
I got you. You're scared that we can't talk about it because it's over then.
Oh,
Because then
we
it's
can
over.
talk about it.
Because then it's over.
Layer of the
Okay,
Shadow
I get it.
Broker.
Yeah, it's one of the greatest.
Oh, it's one of the greatest. What? Say that again, Soft? I would say it again.
One of the greatest.
Oh, okay. Yeah, one of the greatest.
Not come out. We're comparing core game to core game.
Oh, that was core game. So we're not doing the whole consistency of the game. Fraud alert.
Yeah, we'll sacrifice Citadel Station. I think so. Yeah.
They scared of Shadow Broker, bro. Get him,
Shadow Broker's great.
I mean, get him.
The fact that you need Shadow Broker to put you over the hump.
No. Hey, you guys.
Lair the Shadow Broker is us just packing on points on our lead. That's all that is.
I'm just saying. I didn't bring up DLC.
What DLC can you bring up?
What DLC you got? I would have brought it up.
Yeah.
I think we fought an asteroid.
You can't bring it up. The Pinnacle Station.
All I'm saying is that
we also had an
whether
asteroid.
I had it or not, I would not have.
I think
it shows that our Mass Effect brethren are very petty.
Fear of the DLC.
I thought Travis
discuss the core game. Discuss the core game.
Have a
you know
turn.
why
I
your
think
DLC in Mass Effect 2 is so effective?
Travis,
Because it chooses to tell
I'm
a
actually
story.
trying to be nice to you guys. So I would like to do, obviously, I do reviews for a living. So this is all subjective. Like everybody's got
this is all subjective.
None of them are right. You guys keep saying facts. Like facts have no place when it comes to rating a video game.
Facts to me.
It's completely based on your opinion. So I love you all. That said, you guys are wrong. Mass Effect 2, for me, it does all the things that I think it responds to feedback. You guys are throwing around EA changed it, they made a Call of Duty. I think that's kind of a disingenuous argument because what they really did is they took the things that worked in Mass Effect 1 and they kind of dove deeper. And one of the things that I think people wouldn't like Mass Effect 1 as much as they do if they didn't have those characters that you could kind of dive into those conversations with. But you never got to go all the way. Have a few conversations with Rex, and then every time you meet him, he's just like Shepard, Rex, Shepard, that whole thing. And I think Mass Effect 2 expanded on that. You guys are calling it a dating sim, but I call it a character exploration, which is one of the main reasons people play BioWare games. Mm-hmm. And then the things that didn't work, like the open world stuff and the worlds that we've kind of we've talked about that plenty. They scaled that down and took it away and tried to make it a more focused game. And for me, Mass Effect 2 respects your time and is a more focused story. Does it stand on the shoulders of the giant that is Mass Effect 1? Absolutely. But it is a new hope to Mass Effect 2's Empire Strikes Back. It doesn't, just because it came first and set up, does not make it a better game on its own. Mass Effect 2, it benefits from Mass Effect 1. You get to kind of all the decisions you made in Mass Effect 1 carry over. You could have an all-human council. When you get to Mass Effect 2, that stuff is really cool. But in Mass Effect 2, you also have the consequences of your actions in that game, rather than Mass Effect 1, where they sort of punt and go, okay, all the decisions you made, you're going to see the results of that in the next game, right? Mass Effect 2 benefits from that in being the middle piece, and I think that that's a unique advantage that it has. But overall, obviously, we all love Mass Effect. Mass Effect 1 is a great game, but there's a lot of stuff that it doesn't do well. I don't think that the RPG mechanics are a virtue. I don't think that the gameplay is benefited by it. I think that they probably could have used to slim down, and I think that decision, Mass Effect 2, is a good decision, whether it was made by BioWare or not. Whoever was in the back room who made that decision, I think it was the right call. And I think that you guys are going to see in Mass Effect 1 Remastered that it's going to be a better game.
It's going to be a better game.
More focused. They're going to have brought in some of that stuff.
So here's why the Star Wars analogy is a bad one.
You got to get
because Empire Strikes Back is incredible. It's incredible because it dives in and really shows the Empire Striking Back, for lack of a better phrase, but it really puts Vader, right? That's what made Vader that epic presence. Mass Effect 2 doesn't have that. The epic presence in story when it comes to Mass Effect is Saren. And Saren is in Mass Effect 1. So it's trying to say that it went from New Hope to Empire Strikes Back, which really developed the core antagonist of the entire Star Wars universe, who lives on 45, 50 years later. There's nothing like that in Mass Effect 2.
Yeah, so I mean, you can argue about the the actual story and what Empire Strikes Back does, but the point is that Empire doesn't have to worry about world building because it had A New Hope that did that, and so it allows it to focus. It allows it to focus on the story that they want to tell, whereas Mass Effect 1 is sort of distracted by the fact that they're trying to simultaneously build the world and tell a story. And I think that something gets lost in that. Mass Effect 2 can just say, all right, the world's here. Everyone knows it. So let's just tell a focused story in it. And I think that's
I think that's where we probably disagree. I think the story in 1 is far superior.
But Empire Strikes Back is the movie that builds the universe out in Star Wars. That's where all the world building actually comes in. Star Wars, if you look at it from 1977, is very, very weak in terms of its overall world building. It's one scene talking about the Senate and the Galactic Empire. When you get to Empire, the reason it's so successful is because of that world expansion. The reason Mass Effect 2 is not is because it condenses everything. You had a grand space opera. You had a discussion of alliances and politics and councils and all of this. And then you shrink it down. And yes, that can work better for some. I'm not going to take that away from Thor's impassioned speech about why it works better for him. I think that's great. I think it's not the story that they projected they were going to tell. When you get to the end of Mass Effect 1 and you see the Reapers out there, this is going to be epic. This is going to be a kick-ass story. And we're going to break it down and tell that dating sim that you like more, which is fine, but it's a different type of game.
Look what you did, Bill. Look what you did.
I'm glad I can contribute something here.
No, but if the story was so conclusive in 2, like Hoag's saying, right, then why do you continue that in 3? The elusive man and that kind of that setup.
He's the main villain.
Never really, to Hoag's point earlier, the end of 2, as much as people like this suicide mission, that's not even necessarily a suicide mission.
That is the goal of all missions. Continue. So we have respect.
You got to play more games.
Have respect.
But there's no culmination to that level, like dealing with Saren and the end of that.
I think the Saren thing is overrated.
I don't think Saren was a good ending.
I don't think he was a good.
I think he's a glorified.
The Saren and the Sovereign attack was a good ending because Mass Effect. I will tell you this: one thing that jumped out at me when I was getting told the numbers of sales is a notion when you're looking at media sales that the sins of the father visited upon the son. The sequel sells by the momentum of the prequel. That Empire Strikes Back is positive because of Star Wars. That the second Pirates of the Caribbean is positive because of the first. You tell me those sales numbers. What I see there is momentum, pure raw momentum from the end of Mass Effect 1 that gets everybody excited combined. It should be noted with an Electronic Arts throwing money at the marketing. I don't know if you remember Mass Effect 2's marketing. It was crazy. And that's awesome. That's awesome that they got that. But it throws it into Mass Effect 2. And then what I see is a stall in that momentum. You get to the end, you fought collectors, you fought a Skeletor thing. Maybe people enjoyed it when it happened, but you get to the end and you're like, I guess, okay. And there's no momentum going into the sales of Mass Effect 3, which you can
again. I disagree. Listen,
I disagree completely.
I disagree.
I mean, you shouldn't go by sales numbers for if the game's good. But
that's going to be used as evidence against me.
I would never use it.
All right, here's the thing. In this
Call of
momentum,
Duty sells better.
This momentum thing. The thing that we're forgetting is the fact that the elusive man presented an interesting character from the sense of this was a person who was essentially a human supremacist. And this was a person who presented you with a choice at that moment with this human Reaper tech, right? That we have a choice to say, okay, we can use this to control the Reaper. So a decision was made. It was a very important decision. Besides all of the suicide mission going on. And the other thing about, the story is so much better in Mass Effect 1. No doubt, we're never going to take away the world building from Mass Effect 1, but it expanded so much better into from you talked about the Krogan homeworld of Tachanka. You talked about the Xenophage. You almost had racism between aliens. You had, you know what I'm saying, the Solarians, the whole Xenophage, that whole thing. You had people.
All the politics.
All the politics. You had the Quarians, the Geth. You had
it's literally all in one.
Right. Not all of it.
It was beginning.
Go ahead, Travis. I was going to finish.
Yeah. I was going to say, there's a lot of stuff we haven't even talked about, like the fact that the characters just are better in Mass Effect 2. I'm sorry.
Forget about
Mordin Solus is iconic. Garrus went from being a mall cop to being a badass bounty hunter. They did really cool stuff with the characters, and I think that why are you playing a BioShock game so you can roam around the world and look at the stuff that it decorates itself with, or are you there because space operas are all about the why, the relationship, and the people that you meet along the way and the struggles that they're going with?
But this is the very personal. The first game presented. The first game presented a scenario where if you felt coming out of that they were going to give you both. I love all of the loyalty missions in 2, right? But for me, that part of it is the ideal sort of evolution from what they had in 1. To me, that is an aspect of what I expected from 2, not the crux of it. And that is what bothers me about how they moved on to 2. I mean, Travis talked about this, the way they world build and trimming the fat. The thing is, I think there's a big distinction between the way you world build in a game and the way you would world build in a movie, right? Where you can have one thing that initiates it all, that gives you the general idea of what the whole world is, and then you can focus specifically on stories in subsequent movies because the world has been told to you. In a game, but this is the thing though, in 2, all of the stuff that you guys say, yes, running around in the Mako on its own, right, was not great. But the thing about it is the fact that they tried to allow you to land on a planet.
I get it.
Right?
The idea, the illusion.
The idea. And what bothers me is that rather than expand upon it, and fix it, right? They said we're cutting it
because people felt it was not fun. People, it was.
I don't think it's not that it's not fun. So hold on.
Let Bill go.
Like here's this is just my opinion. And I think Travis is right. No facts here, but here's my disappointment in Mass Effect 2. And I love Mass Effect 2, and I love this series. But my disappointment with Mass Effect 2 is if you go back to old BioWare used to do some special stuff that wasn't really mainstream. And I don't mean this in like I'm cool because I'm unique and special. I mean it in that they did their own thing, and they were unapologetic about it. You know, look, I'll be honest, KOTOR's pretty brutal in a lot of ways. Like when we were bringing it back up.
Yeah, I talked about this earlier.
It's hard to play now.
It is. It's hard to play, but I still love it.
Right. Story too.
Mass Effect has some fundamental control problems. I still love it. Right. What I see in Mass Effect 2 is the start of, I'll say, the casualization, not
press X for awesome,
of a game series now that EA owns it, because EA's focus is not the same as BioWare's. EA's focus is, I want mass market sales at the broadest possible scale, and these really complex Baldur's Gate level type worlds don't sell as well as the more generic's the wrong word, because I really do love the game. But they have to simplify the game mechanics for a broader audience so that they can drive the sales numbers. And I think that ultimately hurt the Mass Effect experience from what 1 was building and starting with BioWare. And 2 carried a lot of it through, and I still loved it. And you just sort of see, though, that the peak was at the end of 1, and then it just, between 2 and 3, it just sort of fades out. Because it turned into a more simplistic game designed to appeal to a larger audience. And I just think of Mass Effect 2, the reason I'll always put 1 over 2, well, there's 2 reasons. The first one, though, is because I think it's the beginning of the end for something that BioWare had started that was just magical. And it was going a certain way. And then, I'm not bagging on EA, but I think their focus is something different. They're not about being a boutique shop selling a specific story or a specific vision. They're about selling mass market product, and I think it hurt the game.
Let me give Rand, because Rand's been patient. Rand, you still there, right, bro?
I'm here.
Yeah. I want to get you, because I can't visually see you when you're talking, so I want to get you.
Right over there shaking.
Yeah, I know. Let's get Rand in, because he's been patient.
I mean, I don't know. I pretty much laid out exactly why I like Mass Effect 2 over 1. I understand everything that Bill's saying. I take a little umbrage at like the dating sim stuff, but I don't know. To me, I always feel about a good story is about the characters, and like to me, the characters make Mass Effect 2 the better story in my opinion. Like spending all that time with them, learning what makes them tick, and their fears and their I guess I don't know. Like I love Mass Effect 1, but to me, when I was thinking about like, do I really want to replay these games, Legendary Edition, right? If I'm starting from the beginning, I always balk because of how horrible Mass Effect 1 was to play. Not the story. The story's great. Like the epic space opera that they have going for it, the great moments like the reveal of Sovereign. It always comes down to, do I want to replay and spend 30 hours with that horribly dated combat? And it always comes down to, it's like, well, man, if I need to get to if I want to play my baby, my Mass Effect 2, I got to dredge through 30 hours of horribly paced combat. And I just don't know if I want to do that because it was that bad. And it was that bad back in 2007. Like people just overlooked it because it was really the first game of its time. It was BioWare's new baby. It's a space epic. And people were like, oh man, the story and the universe and the dialogue, which we didn't give much. I love the dialogue system in all the Mass Effect games, right? I like not having, I don't know about you guys. I don't know how you play your games, but like when you played KOTOR and you can see what exactly you were going to say. Like, I don't know about you, but I always skipped that because I would read it and then I was like, well, I don't need to hear it, right? So when Mass Effect introduced more like canned, like left or right, but it was just kind of emotions, I was actually involved listening to what was going on because I didn't know what was going to be said. And that was maybe one of the biggest things BioWare did for me, was because now I was engaged about like what was being said, how it was being said, who it was said to. But for the end of the day, for me, when it comes down to which game is better, I just sit here and I think I want to replay Mass Effect 2, but I don't want to actually replay Mass Effect 1 because of how bad it was.
Because of the clunky controls.
Because of the clunky controls.
But why is that a write-off, though? You can't.
It's not a write-off.
I get
because it's a game.
We've all accepted that it is, but like. Sometimes the problem with games is that the actual game part of it gets in the way of the part you want, and Mass Effect 1 is the epitome of that. It's like I want to experience it without having to play it. And I think that's like a big problem with games is like developers feel like they have to turn it into like where's the Jenga, where's like the board game part of this, right? And I think that Mass Effect tries a little too hard to do that in a lot of different areas, whether it's the exploration with the Mako, the combat system, a lot of the stuff. It's just like, just get this game out of my way so that I can have my story. And that is to me.
Would you like the story better then? Like, let me ask a different question. If Mass Effect 1 played exactly the same as Mass Effect 2, would that change your favorite?
I will say this.
It would bring it more in line.
It will bring it more in line. And I will give you guys this. With this trilogy, with the legendary transition that's about to come out, we're
gonna find out real soon.
We're gonna find out. That's why I wanted to do it. Okay, Trav.
Can I say one more thing? Because the dating sim thing has come up multiple times. I'm actually the only person I know who in all 3 Mass Effect games never romanced anyone. And anytime somebody came up to me and was like, "Hey, Commander Shepard, you're kind of cute," I was like, "What are you, insane? We have worlds to share."
The right decision, right?
I will not accept your dating
advances.
Your advances.
Focus on the mission.
I am here for the characters, the story, and saving the world. All right. So,
I just want to state once again that the dating sim portions of BioWare games is a staple of all their older games.
That is true.
Except for
my favorite. Always reject.
I tell you one thing that's very strong for me to piggyback off of what Bill said is the fact that when you look at our feelings on modern day BioWare and whatever influences EA may or may not have on them, and you look at Mass Effect 2, like Bill said, it feels like Mass Effect 2 in a lot of ways is the harbinger of doom as much as people love that game. It does begin to introduce things that in later BioWare properties we become very critical of, right? It is sort of this downward slope when you look at, even looking at, air quotes, Game of the Year, Dragon Age Inquisition. There were changes that were beginning there that were sort of moving away from what we knew and expected of BioWare. And I think for me, it's strongest in Mass Effect 2. Well, the beginnings of it are strongest in Mass Effect 2 as something that feels completely different from what I expected coming out of 1. And so for me, it felt like a little bit of a betrayal. Like it really did.
So you mean for all BioWare games, it was strongest in Mass Effect 2?
The beginnings of it were Mass Effect 2.
I think Dragon Age went through the same series, by the way.
Yeah,
Dragon Age as well.
Because I was going to say Dragon Age 2 is a complete departure
from what
100% Dragon Age Origins is. I felt a lot of people felt it was a complete
I think
betrayal.
you see the same metamorphosis. I mean, I think
it was more drastic maybe in Dragon Age, but I think fans
definitely drastic.
Yeah, but fans like us who adore ME1 see the same parallels.
Well, so okay, we Bill kind of touched on this a little bit with the whole EA thing, which I do agree he's 100% on point out. But let's imagine there's an alternate universe that exists, and EA didn't buy BioWare, and Microsoft Game Studios published Mass Effect 2 in 2010. What does that game look like then? Is it not the Mass Effect that we know now? Is it completely different and more in line with Mass Effect 1? Like, what do you think Mass Effect 2 would have been if they never were bought by EA?
I think you'd see improved combat with less of a streamlining of what is the story and world building aspect. I mean, if you go in and I'm not taking anything away from Mass Effect 2 because I mean we've had our shots. I don't want to. I like Mass Effect 2, but if you go in and you look at
sir. You don't. That's actually incorrect, sir.
You go in and you look at like the codex of Mass Effect 2, and it has like a couple of additions, but it's not anything like it was in Mass Effect 1. And the structure of Mass Effect 2 is one of the things that I'm really bothered by. And that's just because from a kind of story standpoint, I don't really like to see the mechanics and the puppet strings. And Mass Effect 2 is so kind of rigid in collect the character, loyalty mission, collect the character, loyalty mission, halfway point, collect the character, loyalty mission, go. And it's like, that can be fine. I describe it as a collection of short stories to be mildly derogative to some people, but not
very
really derogative.
I take it as a compliment.
No, because collections of short stories can be very, very good. I don't know if you've read.
Sir, I got
I take it as a compliment. It's better than a bloated.
I disagree with that.
I mean, I don't think that. I don't think Hoag's wrong on that. But the biggest crux is we already have Bill Stillwell, the man, saying Mass Effect 2 is a better game than Mass Effect 1.
On February,
you know what I mean? Oh my God, I got evidence.
Oh, he's got. Okay.
This is his order. He has Mass Effect Andromeda as the second greatest Mass Effect of all time.
That is ridiculous.
That is grounds for disbarment.
Wow.
He has Mass Effect 2 as the last.
All right, now since you're bringing up evidence, you're going to have to give me the floor for a minute.
Yes, explain yourself.
Tabs open.
Okay.
Explain yourself, sir.
So, to reflect on what I said earlier.
Yo, Abe, they're getting around from you. They moving away from you.
Look at this Mass Effect 3 magazine.
Mass Effect Andromeda is your second greatest Mass Effect of all time.
And
that is this man speaking.
Now, Lord
Explain
Cargill,
yourself.
why is that? If we think about what I've said in this video, why is that?
Yes, why is that? Let's go.
Which is that when I play a role-playing game, whether it's a Japanese role-playing game, a Western role-playing game, BioWare, Bethesda, whomever, I honestly don't care about the mechanics. You guys are having a great conversation about the gameplay and the Mako and the kludgy controls and all that, and I understand it. I have never cared. I played Final Fantasy when it was on the original Nintendo, and things didn't even move when you hit the controller with the right buttons. I want a good story. And what I really wanted out of Mass Effect was a story that was focused on this kind of exploration and Star Trekkiness, going out, exploring brave new worlds. And Mass Effect 2 went a different direction, went into kind of a personal story, but, you know, looking at the underworld and looking at things that weren't kind of exposing yourself to a new galaxy and worlds of possibilities. And Mass Effect 3 was obviously very focused on the crisis, the Reapers. And even though I don't think they did the pacing very well since they're constantly under attack, you know, it's a different kind of thing. In terms of story, I always wanted what Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect Andromeda presented as a concept, which is this exploration and going and seeing new things and finding out new parts of the galaxy and world building. That's what I value.
So world building aside, arguably one of the worst technically released games ever. The game that literally lives in infamy for ruining BioWare, right?
I mean,
is Andromeda.
You're running around naked in Outriders, so we can talk about technology.
But this is the game. You are champion. So world building above everything, even if the game is not technically sound. That is what you are championing, sir.
So I think Andromeda got a bit of an internet rap on this. I don't view it as extraordinarily problematic when compared with the Bethesda games of the world, when compared with everything we've seen in the last 12 months of patches. I had to re-download Returnal, for God's sakes. So, I mean, when we're talking about technological issues, I didn't really have a significant...
I can't believe this is happening.
Mass Effect
but I would say this.
Are focused on something different. Okay. And I think we can all agree on that. Because what I'm hearing from the other side is that I like what it was focusing on, and I don't blame you for that. But it's not what I wanted out of the Mass Effect series. We got that space opera.
I get what you want, but if it's technically broken...
I never had a problem with Andromeda.
Even if you didn't have a problem
you
with
can't
Andromeda.
project. If what he cares about in an
I
RPG
get that.
is just right.
But technologically, you want to talk about technologically, and here's what I always say to people, because people come into my comments or whatever and say, "How can you love this broken thing?" And I can only comment on what I experienced. Right? I mean, this is the thing with reviewers. Andromeda never broke for me. Andromeda never had any significant issues for me. So I don't know. You want me to take into account like everybody else's experiences, Cog, and I understand that. And I will couch it with, I understand a lot of people have had issues with it.
Right.
I didn't personally, so I can't judge it on that.
Right.
Okay, let's forget the bugs for a moment with Andromeda. It is the one Mass Effect game that plays the best when it comes to combat. Its combat is better than the other three games. It has the worst story. It has two protagonists, the Rider twins, that do not compare to Shepard. Shepard's toenail is more impressive than these two twins.
I've never actually really liked Shepard. I mean, we can get into that if you want.
Oh my God! See,
look, Shepard isn't a character.
He's making y'all look bad, y'all. Y'all was strong to this point. Y'all was strong. Look at Ace trying to get out of here. Y'all were doing so well until we got home.
Now's not a good time to mention that I got an early copy of Andromeda, and I literally have an article on my site that says I'm worried about Mass Effect Andromeda.
Yeah. Hey, there you go.
But you got a crew in Andromeda that's worse than the crew in Mass Effect 3.
Yes.
Most people, big diehard Mass Effect fans, can't even name all the characters in the crew because they are so bland.
I don't remember.
I don't think I can name anybody from Mass Effect 3. To be fair, I don't. There's the guy that's working out.
But to be fair, though,
name starts with a J or something.
Yeah,
all of us, right?
Get it.
To be fair to all of us, different people appreciate different aspects of these games.
For sure.
So Rand has talked about the personal relationship building of Mass Effect 2, which is arguably one of its greatest strengths, right?
Absolutely.
And if you value that in your games, in your RPGs, whatever it may be, then you're going to hold that on a higher pedestal than someone who may value something else. So I think Hogue, I'm not with him on the Andromeda.
He's not with him on it. No, I want to ask the Mass Effect 1 panel, so Solve, do you feel Mass Effect Andromeda is the second greatest Mass Effect of all time?
No.
Okay.
I'm just asking. What Lord Cognito is doing here, folks, is called impeachment witness.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fair, though.
It's fair. It's all fair, baby.
Oh, no, it is fair, but I don't think it should affect.
I have to discredit this. I have to discredit a lot of this.
I just want on the record that I only know one person here.
He's trying to distance himself. Ainsley, do you feel that Mass Effect Andromeda is the second best ever?
No, that's the answer.
Are you Bill Stewart? Are you implying that Mass Effect Andromeda is the second best Mass Effect?
I picked Mass Effect without any consultation with anybody else who was going to be on this side of the panel. So I can't speak to any other opinions that those individuals have.
I rest my case.
I was going to say that Bill was my spirit animal. And what shirt are you wearing, Lord Cognito?
Of course, yours, baby. Reasonable minds can disagree. Reasonable minds can disagree. Salute. This is fun.
I think that's a good pull from you, and I understand. It's one of those things where I think objectively, Andromeda is obviously the one that is most castigated and has the most issues. Here's one of the things that I think is interesting, because I heard this on a couple of directions from the panel.
Yeah.
I think the Mass Effect 1 team, to some extent, I don't want to speak for all of them because they're distancing themselves from me.
I'm here. I got you.
We're still within arm's reach. We're just not quite hugging.
No, that Mass Effect 1 had some problems, and you've, I think, rightly pointed them out in terms of the barren planets and the Mako and everything. But there is an ambition in Mass Effect 1, a reach in Mass Effect 1 that has collapsed a bit in Mass Effect 2.
Yeah.
And, one of the things I like about Andromeda, and I like about indie games, and I like about things that are failures out on the market, is that reach that exceeds the grasp. I like to support that ambition. I liked that BioWare was trying to make a new galaxy and go out there and build something and not collapsing in on itself like a dying star, which is what I'm afraid of from that.
All right, let me get
for me, I put Andromeda on his space, which says, they're going to try to do something new, and maybe I give it a little bit more credit than it deserves because I love to support
Okay,
that
as long
stuff.
as you admit that. Okay.
Hey, you know what? I still put it second. I do, but I do like to see people try for greatness.
You like what you like. You know what I'm saying? I will have a counter to Mr. Hogue. It feels like I'm always countering him. Is like, I feel you basically said that you like Mass Effect 1 because you like the reach, right? Like compared to 2, right? Was basically
the world building, the story, and the ambition,
right. I actually feel that doing a more personal story is harder than doing a galactic story, because in a galactic story you can sort of be more vague. You don't really have to flesh everything out. But if you're doing 12 individual personal stories, and they're not good because they have to really hammer home the emotions, then that game overall is going to fail, right? So I actually think Mass Effect 2 is the what's the word I'm looking for here?
Ambitious.
It's more ambitious. It's a bigger reach than Mass Effect 1, simply because if you don't nail the stories, then the game overall is going to fail.
But can I piggyback off of Rand real quick?
Let me say something to Rand about that. So I love the way you phrase that. I think you hit, for me, the biggest gap with 2 when I talked about how it became more casual. I love this the core storyline of ME1. I think is one of the better storylines in games. And I actually agree with you. Like the relationship building, as much as I make fun of it, like the relationship building was the heart of ME2. My challenge with the ME2 overarching story, though, was it took all sense of urgency out of the main storyline. So it's like, here's this very tight story in ME1 from start to finish, and now here's the collection of 12 short stories that are all well done, but they then lost this overarching thread. I never really felt any pressure to get this done, to get to that final mission in ME2, the same way I felt driven in ME1 to make progress in the story. And so I completely respect that. If you love that character creation part of 2, I could see why you would consider it a better game. For me, though, the focus on doing that well, which they did, I think broke then the overarching story of why you were really caring about putting that crew together in the first place.
Right. I get the urgency thing, because it's also kind of an issue in 3. Like, oh, the Reapers are here and they're attacking, but let's go romance and let's go these side missions. I get it. Like, and that is an
as
issue
you're getting
with Mass
attacked
Effect 2, where it's like, hey, the collectors are the human species, but you know what? I gotta go see Miranda and I gotta do her loyalty. Like, I get that, and that is like, you know, a problem that some people do have with this.
I kind of disagree for a moment, and I respect Bill's opinion here, but I disagree for the fact that you can choose to say, I ain't got time for that. Yeah, like you Travis, can actually
like Shepard tell. Did. So was it like a 4-hour game for you, Travis?
But like you get out of that the end result which you put into it. So like if Miranda says, hey, look, my sister is in trouble. I hid her from my father. I need to get her out of there. And you're just like, yo, we trying to save the universe, though. What are you doing? No, we ain't got time for that right now. You don't get her loyalty later on. That pays the cost of that can cost you. If you have that approach, if you feel like all of this stuff is all your personal problems, I don't know why y'all coming to me for this. I'm the captain. I'm the commander. We got a mission to do. Let's do this mission. And you will get the result of that in how you finish the game. You can make the best choices, put the best people in the right positions. Hey, Tally, take the vents. Hey, Garrus, hold the door. But if you don't have their loyalty, you lose lives. It's like there is a cost to it. And so I felt that in my a gazillion playthroughs of these games, in Mass Effect 2, I'm always looking at like when to do a loyalty mission, when to take care of it. I always do Jack's loyalty mission first, because I know that I can get Miranda's loyalty later. Right. It's how you have to do it, and the pressure and the tension and the urgency. I felt the urgency when the collectors took my crew.
Yeah, remember when they boarded the ship? And,
and you have a maximum of 1 or 2 missions that you can do before that crew gets liquidated, and you'll lose them.
But there's one thing that's one story aspect there that kind of bugged me out.
Which one?
When you leave the Normandy to sort of go out, it doesn't even tell you where you go. You leave it unprotected, and Joker's there. Like, that was a piece of the story that to me was bonkers to me. You leave it, Joker's the only person left on that ship, and there's no way they can defend themselves. And then you come back, and then you blame Joker for letting everybody get liquidated. I'm just like, what happened there?
What? They didn't blame Joker.
They absolutely blamed Joker.
They didn't blame Joker.
Miranda
did. Miranda blames everybody for everything.
That's Trap, and then Steve.
Sure does. LeBron.
I would also. I would also like to push back against the whole like urgency thing, and I think it actually opens it up to like a broader conversation about Mass Effect and like the different stories it tells depending on how you play it. But for me, I'm like a hardcore Paragon shepherd. So for me, the story of Mass Effect is that like the things that you think wouldn't be urgent or important are all that matters, and like the human part of like these people you're making friends with is actually what saves you in the end, right? Because if you avoid those loyalty quests, then you actually could fail the mission or everyone could die and that sort of thing. And so these you know, non-urgent little side quests are actually the only thing that matters. And I think that's the story that Mass Effect tries to tell, is that like the small details and the human parts of the world are really all that matters in this galaxy that kind of decorates itself with war and politics and strife and all that. And you know, you can kind of throw that to the wind with the the Renegade Path, and I think it tells a very different story. But we all have different personal connections to this, and to me, it's like, hey, one Krogan who was able to be convinced that, you know, they should give other people a chance. That is actually what made the difference and allowed these people to survive. And so I think it's a little pessimistic to just say like, oh yeah, and these stories are side quests and they don't matter. Like, that's the story of Mass Effect, man. Like, that's what this game is about to me.
But that's a wildly different direction than it is at the end of the Mass Effect 1. See, I read the problem with urgency not as within Mass Effect 2. I think you've made very good arguments why picking which loyalty mission to choose is urgent, and that actually changing people's minds is effective for that story. On the macro basis, in the story of a trilogy, Mass Effect 2 still neatly kind of slides out of everything if you want it to, because Mass Effect 1 goes right to the Reapers on the doorstep, and Mass Effect 3 starts with them arriving. So you have this kind of momentum going. Then you have this stall, which we can enjoy, and we can enjoy the stories that it tells. But in terms of actually telling a trilogy, it's a weird bit of pacing when 1 goes so neatly with 3, and 2 is kind of, we're going to talk about characters for an entire game.
Are we saying that 2 don't need to exist?
Hold on.
Yes.
I think 2 does something in the larger story, but yeah.
We know that lead writer Drew Karpyshyn, who wrote Knights of the Old Republic and Baldur's Gate, and he's the lead writer for Mass Effect 1 and 2, was not the lead writer for Mass Effect 3, because the way he wanted to end the series wasn't what Casey Hudson wanted to do. That's the T, right? So if he's not the guy that finishes the story, we know some of the subplots that are in like lightly touched on in 1, but are into like Tally's entire loyalty mission, where she's like, they got that sun that's like going supernova, and why is this happening? That all was supposed to tie into why the Reapers were doing what they were doing from the very start. Do you think it's still okay to say, well, this doesn't really tie into the trilogy well, when the trilogy, when those 2 games were made, the trilogy didn't end the way the lead writer has set things up from the very start?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think Mass Effect had problems, but I still think even with Drew K and everybody else going into Mass Effect 2, it was just a really interesting choice, the one that I don't agree with, obviously, when you go from the end of Mass Effect 1 and you're delivered something, I think, which is pretty significantly different from what the end of 1 implies 2 is going to be. And so I do think you get this kind of skid stop into, okay, I guess we're going to go to different people's planets and talk about sisters and Cerberus and whatever. And I think that that's fine. But it's not the same type of story as Mass Effect 1. And clearly, you know, in some respects, the Mass Effect 2 team prefers that kind of story, the smaller, more personal stories. I think that's fine. But to me, Mass Effect 1, I agree with Bill, is one of the better stories told in video games. I mean, it's really one of the legendary kind of runs for BioWare, because they got Jade Empire and KOTOR and Mass Effect and Dragon Age Origins, which I think is them at the height of their modern BioWare powers.
Yep.
And I think that that's a very effective story. And then I don't want to downgrade the loyalty missions and the character beats. I absolutely think that they are better characters than in either 1 or 3. And I think that they are effectively told. I don't see them as the pinnacle of greatness in terms of storytelling, as I do with kind of the overall thrust of, realistically, Mass Effect 1 and Dragon Age Origins, which are kind of being developed simultaneously at BioWare at the same time. That those really work well in terms of pacing and plot and combination, and getting to an ending that feels great, where it just never worked for me on Mass Effect 2, even though in the moment-to-moment gameplay, I enjoyed kind of each short story and each character as much as anything else.
Steve? Yeah, he's back, Cog. He's back.
I know he was in the bushes hardcore.
I think Slow-Mo's point though was that like 2 gets a bad rep for. Sorry. 2 gets a bad rep for like the sins of 3, right? Like it's disconnected from 1 and 3, but like it could have been way more, like the whole dark matter subplot that was introduced into that got thrown away. Like it could have been hugely consequential to the arc. And I think part of the reason it feels out of place is because of the change in 3, not because of anything that 2 did. So
I think Mass Effect has a problem as a series overall, because like 2 starts and it kind of goes in a weird direction, and 3, I'm sorry, I forget the name of the stupid Deus Ex Machina thing that's going to kill all the Reapers. But it appears out of nowhere, and now we got to fix the Deus Ex Machina. I mean, it's got some weird transitions as a series while still telling some good stories inside of it.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Steve, get your point on it. You've been waiting.
Sure. I got 2 points. Number one, I think you got to look at the story as an overhaul. When we compare this to something like Star Wars, you got to understand that Star Wars was written all 3 movies at the same time. That's why things are so interlocked. You have the characters, you have the motivations, you have the proper setup that you need to tell this single story that takes place in an entire galaxy. Mass Effect did not have that. They didn't sit there playing out 3 games consecutively, how things were going to intertwine so directly with the presumption of DLC and all that other stuff. So you didn't have that. And I think that's the problem, is that you also had this preconceived notion that you wanted the end of Mass Effect 3 to be your headcanon. Right. Everyone had their own perception of how it was going to end. Mm-hmm. And it's like whenever you see someone online, they're going to throw out, oh, here's my prediction. Right. WandaVision, man. Everyone had their prediction. Oh, it's going to be Mephisto. It was never Mephisto. And now everyone's upset that because they didn't get to be the guy who called it. That's the problem. So that when we look at Mass Effect as a whole and you look at the story, you kind of have to take it how it is. Like Travis said, that's the story, and you're just the player. Your only other choice is to not play. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. That's my first point. Second point, in an outside scale of creative respect, why, if I don't save Miranda's sister, does he just give up? Like, does anyone think about that? Like, I didn't save this person. Right? She just gives up.
That's that rigidity.
But that's the thing, is that like, I think that when I look at Mass Effect 2, some parts just kind of make me go, I wonder why that was done on this creative side. Was everything else fine? Everything was fine in both games. But I tend to look at the creative side of things and why they are done a specific way. And I get why they did it that way. Right. I wish it was a little bit more concise.
I think we kind of getting beating the same points over. And I think what's happening here again is this whole overarching thought about, the overarching space opera, right? And what you guys love about, the old school BioWare, the ambition, right? And we admit, like, it definitely, set the stage for something that appeared to be great. And then where the disconnect between our groups seems is as soon as Mass Effect 2 starts, you guys wanted a more expansion on that, where you got this more condensed personal story with specific characters and stuff like that. The only thing I'll push back again, I feel when you look at worlds like Omega, and you look at, or like I said, Tachanka, and you really get in depth. Like Omega to me was this like seedy underworld Blade Runner. Cool. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It just, to me, it gave me. Travis said it best. Like, I love Mass Effect 1. But I wanted to get back into the story, and the game kept getting in the way. And I just wanted to. This story's so cool. Saren is cool. We give it up. Sovereign, dope. You know what I'm saying? But it was just one of those things. So then when 2 hits, it just hits the ground running. The pacing, I feel, is arguably way better, because it's just bam, 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 concise. Now, I hear your argument on, as far as, do you romance while something else is going on? Fair enough. That's that's the game being a game. You know what I'm saying? And I won't push back too much on that. But I'll never forget, again, I want to reiterate the Xenophage thing, because I was a big Krogan fan. I'm a big Rex fan. You get Grunt, right? He's got to go through his kind of like trial of passage thing as a Krogan, whatever. And to me, to have him and Mordin in this relationship where this race really tried to neuter another race. You know what I'm saying? Because they were too much. You know what I'm saying? I got you, go. And at the end of the day, it's like, sorry, I gotta get this on screen. But yes, at the end of the day, that, and then again, the more expansion on the Tally character. You know what I mean? Again, with the Quarians and the Geth fighting this enemy, and then you get Legion, who's this quote unquote anomaly, right? And now could really enter your crew. And I just it's personal preference at that point, right? This is subjective, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I just felt I had such a connection with this character. Even the ship, which was Edie, right, was this portable AI that you could, bring into the joint. So again, I get it. I know we're beating these points to death, but I want to ask this question for the last thing before we move on, which is, now that the Legendary is coming, right? Now that, Mass Effect 1 is going to get these improvements, right? Now, I want to start on Mass Effect 2 team, and we got to be honest. Mm-hmm. If Mass Effect 1 gets all these improvements, and it plays better, and the stuff that we hate about its original, like, so I'm starting with you, Travis, like, will it get closer to you, or potentially could get the title in your eyes after that?
Yeah. I'm certainly open to it. Actually, the fact that I like Mass Effect 2 over Mass Effect 1 is a bit like not on brand for me. Like I tend to like the nerdier RPG games. Like my favorite Elder Scrolls game is Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, which most people when they try to play that game, most people when they try to play that game today, they're like, "What the heck is this? This is so clunky." And
but it's still the best.
It's still the best. Yep. So I will agree with you, but to me that's because the merits of Morrowind, the virtues sort of outweigh the clunkiness, and Mass Effect 1, I think also does that. Like it's not like it's a bad game because it's so clunky, but Mass Effect 2 takes away the clunkiness without losing really that much of what made Mass Effect 1 great, in my opinion. Whereas, if you go to Oblivion and Skyrim, you lose a lot of kind of the stuff that was in Morrowind, in my opinion. So I just think that it's not that of a downslope. So I'm certainly open to Mass Effect becoming like my favorite Mass Effect game. I honestly love all of the Mass Effect games, even Andromeda. Honestly, like it's not as good as the original trilogy, but like, is it like a terrible game? I actually agree with Hogue. Like, I think the internet's way harsh on Andromeda for unfairly, because there are bad games. Like I've played them. I reviewed them. And Andromeda, I will tell you, I will play Andromeda 10 times over some of the games I've had to play for reviews. So
when you play Destiny, so you know what a bad game is.
Oh man, I'm with you right there.
I
love that. My man
ran. The first guy to admit, I say it all the time on Fireteam Chat. It's one of my favorite. It's one of the best and 10 of the worst games I've ever played. That's Destiny. I have plenty of problems with that game, but yeah, I'm interested to see how it changes. From what my initial thoughts are, is that it doesn't seem like the changes are that extreme. It seems like they were a little afraid of upsetting the Hogues of the world. So if
Hogue doesn't care about the mechanics, they could change all they want.
Hogue's good.
You just want the world building. Okay, well then that's fine. Yeah, I think some people were attached to the not so good gameplay stuff. So. Because it gives you more freedom at the cost of it being compelling. But yeah, hey, I'm just saying that's that is one thing. So yeah, my answer is I have no idea. I'm open to it. I hope that it's good. But at the worst case scenario is I'll at least get to smile when I walk into my base and that guy shouts, "I will destroy you!" time I enter the camp. So at least that'll still be intact.
Fair enough.
Steve's got to leave, dude. Okay. Can he just say his piece?
Yeah, Steve could go.
Yeah, please do.
All right. So I want to say thank you very much for having me around. I appreciate this. This is a great talk. Everyone's really passionate about the game, and I think that speaks levels, because
speaks levels to it. Yeah.
In the end, does it really matter? No, it doesn't. But the fact is that we all can have this conversation and have it be entertaining, and it's amazing. I greatly appreciate it, and I am looking forward, as the person reviewing this series.
Nice.
I am looking forward to taking everything we've talked about here, throwing it in my mind, and putting it out. So, thank you very much for having me.
Steve,
I'll see you guys around.
Pleasure, brother. Very fun.
Take care, man. Have a good one.
No doubt. Let's finish up with Mass Effect 2 team. Again, the question, which would be, with the improvements, Legendary Edition, is there a chance that it could take the title from Beloved 2?
I'm gonna say probably no, and this is why. In my ranking of Mass Effect games, I have Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3, and then Mass Effect 1, and then Andromeda doesn't exist. So I usually I can see if they would. I've read through the game, like I did videos on it, the gameplay improvements, the changes they did to 1 to get it more in line with 2 and 3. If they really hit it and they really take care of it really well, I think it will probably leapfrog 3, but be in between 2 and 3.
Okay. Fair enough. I see Miranda Lawson, aka Forte, just jumped back in. You there, sir? Miss? Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, the question, because we're getting into the conclusion for the 2 team, and then we'll let the 1 team conclude. Again, with the Legendary Edition on the rise, do you think that could push Mass Effect 1 ahead of our beloved Mass Effect 2?
No chance in heck.
Why, sir? Why, sir?
Chance in heck. Because, okay, are they? I mean, they're taking walls down in buildings and stuff, and they're making the game play more like Mass Effect 2, which depends on how you feel about gameplay and stuff. That's a great thing, but they're not really doing anything to make the story any different. I mean, Mass Effect 2 is still going to be, to me, the superior story and the superior experience that you're going to get in the game. Now, is it going to bring it more closer in line to that? I'm pretty much, I'm pretty much like slow-mo. Okay. I think
over 3.
2. Then. I think it could jump over 3 because I think 3 was just the track meet to get to the end. Right. I enjoyed 3. I enjoyed the experiences I had in there. I think there were a lot of memorable experiences in there, but I thought there was a lot of memorable experiences inside of 1. I just think when you stack 2 versus 1, there's just so many different things that stood out to me that I remember than I will ever even care to remember that happened in Mass Effect 1. But the gameplay is definitely going to be something that's going to step that game up to being something that a lot of people are going to enjoy more than ever. I think for most people, the reason they're buying the Mass Effect Legendary Edition is because of 1. It's not because we know 2 is going to be great, but we want to see what 1 feels and plays like if it was done the way that Mass Effect 2 was done. And that's a testament to this game is literally going to be selling for $60 because everybody wants to see what this first one feels like now.
No doubt.
So I don't think it can be better. It could be the 1A to the top spot, but that's going to be different for every person that picks up the game.
Fair enough. Randall, final question, Mass Effect 2 team. Do you think with the Legendary Edition that Mass Effect 1 could have the title over your beloved Mass Effect 2?
I mean, I think I pretty much laid out why Mass Effect 2 is better for me, and that's the story and the stuff. So I would say no, but it would, I'd want to replay Mass Effect 1 because I want the gameplay to be better. And I'm just going to be messy just for a second because I normally don't do this. And I already know the responses to shut it down, so I already know Bill and Hulk are going to respond to this. But let's not forget the fact that when EA sold Mass Effect 2 on the PS3 for the first time, there was no Mass Effect 1. In fact, all the choices from the beloved Mass Effect 1 were in a comic book form that were done in 3 minutes. So EA was basically telling people, you don't need to play Mass Effect 1 to enjoy this. Here's Mass Effect 2.
I mean, I hate the game that lawyer card on you, but you know how the contracts work, right?
I know the response. I know exactly how it works. That's why I say it. I know you would know, and so would Bill. But I'm just saying, let's not forget that they're like, yeah, Mass Effect 1 doesn't matter. Here's 2. Enjoy.
No doubt.
And did it hurt the experience at all?
No. Oh my God, y'all messy. We try to be nice at this.
Worth noting that Microsoft, of course, owned the publishing rights at the time, so it's fine.
No doubt. Look.
Great exclusive for them. They should have bought BioWare.
But it was a great.
I agree.
It was nice talking to everybody.
No doubt.
Everybody's passionate about Mass Effect, which is amazing. It's one of my favorite game series of all time. So
what's better than talking games?
Exactly. Let's conclude with the Mass Effect 1 team. So we brought a strong team to the plate. Love this discussion, man. What are you guys most excited about, man, as we conclude with the Legendary Edition, man? Mass Effect 1 team.
Well, can I conclude by responding to
please
Can I conclude by being messy on the way out?
I'm gonna play a different story because if you want to make like I love the whole series. I'm excited to play the remake, and I really am excited for it. But here's what I'm gonna say: Mass Effect 1 has an outsized impact on what we're doing today in the gaming space. And here's what I mean by that. We're going to go back a number of years to an E3 where Microsoft got up on stage
that was fire.
and announced
that was fire.
back compat coming to the console, which at the time very few people thought had any value.
Talk your talk, Bill. This is you.
And the game we used to demonstrate it was what game again?
All right.
It was Mass Effect. Now, back compat exploded.
I love it. This was his job.
It turned out that Mass Effect, one of our, our good partner, willing to step up on stage with us, because back then nobody was like, "Why are you doing this? This is dumb. We don't want you to bring games forward." It led to that whole library of 360 and Xbox original titles on the Xbox One, now playable on the Xbox Series X.
Talk your talk, Bill.
A whole bunch of enhancements on Xbox One X, now even broader with auto HDR on Xbox Series.
Bill is in his bag. I love it.
He in his bag big time.
I love it.
Now in a better spot entirely because Mass Effect.
Bill, I gotta give it to you. That was bars. That was bars, brother.
He's been waiting the whole time.
He's been waiting on
that. That's the only reason I'm here.
I knew he was going to say that.
Salute to Bill for being petty.
I love it.
Messy, and I love it. It was great, no doubt. Let's get AIDS, man. The legend, Season Gaming. We've been fighting and beefing for weeks.
Oh, man, this has been hilarious. In all seriousness, let me show you. What I was reading, this is not a joke. I went this morning because I keep gaming magazines because I'm a weirdo. This is May 2011 when Mass Effect 3 was getting ready to come out. And I was looking for quotes where they talk about fixing stuff from Mass Effect 2.
You're so petty. You're so petty.
I could actually read some of them from Casey Hudson and the lead director if you like. But, we'll save it for another time because we're trying to be nice. But we agree with our fans that we went too far in the other direction. It's fine. We can leave it alone.
We doing that. I can read quotes from a few weeks ago. Fixed Mass Effect 1. So
that's
let
true.
Let him continue.
That's coming from EA. That
oh my God!
It's coming from BioWare.
It's coming from you, BioWare.
BioWare. I'm talking about Casey Hudson and.
Do you disagree that those things?
Yes.
David Silverman, literally the guys who made 1 and 2.
The Casey Hudson that came with the red, blue, or red ending. Let's take his opinion on all that.
Right.
Anyway,
hey, there you go.
No doubt. Let's get your balls off, Haynes. Get your balls off.
Yeah, no, I think no. In all seriousness, this has been hilarious. I agree. I love this series. I still love 2. Don't get me wrong. I think, and I actually really enjoyed 3. I didn't even have that big of a problem with 3's ending. Only because. I'm one of those people where it's like, unless it really, really turns me off, okay, that's what the creators wanted to do with it. Right. So be it. It wasn't my favorite thing in the world, but whatever. Man, I'm telling you, my throat. I think all the points, especially that my team here talked about being grandeur and scope and kind of that classic DNA, if you will, from the BioWare of old. The Knights of the Old Republic. That's why I brought it up. Dragon Age Origins is a great example. Amazing game. And I just felt like this was the sci-fi epic from that DNA. You know what I mean? Mass Effect 1 did that for me. And I still feel, as we've talked about, as a story arc from beginning to end within the game. It has the best story. And to me, we talked about people liking different things within their games. No doubt the relationship building in 2 is all. I really like it. I mean, I love it. But as an overall story arc, I feel that 1's better. And I think I'm just one of those. It's funny, Travis, you brought up Morrowind because I'm the same. I think Morrowind's the best Elder Scrolls game. I didn't really even care for Oblivion that much. Skyrim is good, but Morrowind, it just, it's not the same. And your point, it's actually a great analogy because when you go back and play Morrowind now, there's a lot of mechanics in that game that are just like, holy shit, this is dated, right? There just is. But as an overall game and what it presents, I still feel it's the best. And that's what it is for Mass Effect 1 for me. I'm just that I am old school. I love these old school RPGs.
I love these things, even if they're clunky a little bit. As Hope said, it's like,
as long as y'all admit that, I'm good.
no, and it is, right? I mean, I don't think any of us are denying that, but that doesn't detract from it enough.
Yeah, I know. It's just personal preference at that point.
Yeah,
right?
it's just, whatever you weigh more, right?
Exactly, which is the subjective aspect of this.
Yeah, and so that's it for me. In all seriousness, like I said, this has been great. I know we're still going to continue to joke about this. I'm so excited for next week. Yes. Because I can't wait for all of us and the collective, audience that we all talk to go back and start playing these games ago and really see how it feels to go back through them with these updates. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
No doubt.
It's gonna be awesome.
Hogue, man, in the crossfire today.
No, he left for half the show. I don't know if you know that.
It's all right.
This is Andromeda for a little while.
You were disowned for half of the show, but you're back.
This is like the day job here. Actually, I'm getting the work week vibes in here. You guys would make excellent opposing counsel. And as always, I'm always thankful to be a part of these conversations. I cannot think of a better way to spend 2 hours on a Saturday than talking with all you about awesome video games, both of which Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2 are. Yeah. You asked the question, am I looking forward to the Legendary Edition? I have to tell you, I'm all in favor of the mechanics improving and what they talk about there. I'm mildly terrified of what they did to Mass Effect 1 in terms of tone.
I was going to ask you that, yeah.
I put up some tweets and some social media things, and I can't judge these things until I play it. But they've tried to improve things like lighting that really matters to mood. And there was a very kind of dramatic, we use the word space opera here a lot, that was over the top. When you first see Sovereign, it's like a freaking not normal black cloud and red lightning and everything else. And the images that they've shown from the Legendary Edition is kind of a soft sunset. Like I have a tweet that I put out that's like, well, now Sovereign looks for nice walks on the beach with a lot of ice cream sundaes. And it'll be interesting because I want it to be great. I love Mass Effect. And Mass Effect 1 was special to me. I think that's right, as I've said, as part of this, in their wheelhouse for when they were really firing on all cylinders, at least their modern form, post Baldur's Gate and that kind of thing. And so I'm interested in playing it. I'm looking forward to it. Who knows? Maybe the rest of the Mass Effect trilogy will get elevated if they butcher Mass Effect 1 enough. I don't know.
2 might come from the bottom. That's great.
Yeah, but no, I think it's interesting. I do also note, talking about backwards compatibility and awesome things that Microsoft is doing, that obviously the Mass Effect series notably omitted from all of the many games that are getting FPS boosts and other benefits from the Microsoft side of things.
How now you not there?
It's the corporate world we live in. And as a corporate lawyer, I get everything that's happening there, but I can't help but look at it and say, oh, yay. I got you. I know you want your 60. I understand. I understand. And I am still looking forward to it in any event. And again, thanks for having me. Lawyers can be a bit much, and I always appreciate it.
I appreciate you, brother. One thing about you, you stand on your square, regardless to what. You stand on your square. I love that.
What I believe.
That's what you believe. I talk that talk. That's what I'm talking about. Soft, my brother. It was very intense.
It's very intense. I love it.
For a lot of the day today.
The funny thing is, like I talked about in the beginning, how we used to do this back in the day. It was funny because a lot of this back in the day happened at Cognito's house, right? So you could imagine 2 young guys. Oh my God. So if you get into an argument with the owner of the home,
I was the host. I was still the host.
They would take their toys and go home.
Yeah, it was taking your ball and going home. I got kicked out of that house. And then next week we're like,
we cool. It's over.
But it speaks to the passion we have for these games, and specifically Mass Effect. I love Mass Effect in its entirety, 100%.
Facts.
Even the stepchild Andromeda for what it tried to do.
What it tried to do.
It tried to do. But for me, the first one is so special because of the scope that they were trying to achieve, and in part really did achieve for me. When I think to the future and I think about the improvements we've seen in sort of world building characterization, when you look at like The Witcher 3 and the hopes and dreams that we have for what Starfield might be, right? My hope is that Mass Effect achieves that with its next iteration and goes
we didn't even
there.
Talk about that. Yeah, good point. We didn't even talk about that.
which will for me fulfill what I expected Mass Effect to be from the very beginning. And this is strange for me to say because I am the dude that really does believe that characterization and interpersonal relationships do make the crux of the best stories, right? So for the most part, the overarching stories a lot of times just give you the through line to get through, but at the end of the day, the stories and that you come up with the characters you end up loving are the ones that really resonate and stay with you. I just thought that 2 did that part so well at the exclusion of the other stuff that I loved in 1. And I didn't understand why. But that said, I played through it twice. I love it. I even love 3. I'm fine with the ending. I'm never opposed to a developer sticking to their guns when they tell you this is our story, this is what it is. We're gonna stick to our guns. And I didn't necessarily like what they did at the end of 3 and sort of changing stuff. But again, I'm most excited to see new people next week possibly be motivated to pick up this game and that have never seen it, never played it, and fall in love with it the way we did now nearly 15 years ago.
Exactly.
And I hope that happens. Yeah, I really do.
And I'll wrap this up. It will happen. Yeah, absolutely. And that's literally my same point that I was going to say. Again, tremendous to make. Thank everybody for coming through. This is fire. This is a lot of fun, a lot of passion, a lot of heat. And it was fun. And like I say, we all set our points ad nauseum. It's going to be great to see this legendary edition, what I'm saying, and how everything changes in that regard. Obviously, 2 is very special to me, very special. Just what a tremendous ride, and I'll never forget. It was just like my heart was racing every single part to see what was going to happen and the relationships. But like you said, Saul, I think to me, it always comes down to, with this legendary edition, how this new generation of gamers who's never experienced this, who's never seen any of it, right? How are they going to embrace it? And then what's their take? Do they lean Mass Effect 1? Do they say, oh yeah, Mass Effect 2 we get? I'm very curious. I spoke to Undead. Addict is one of them. This new generation, to see how they absorb this beloved thing is going to be fun to see, man. So it's
going to be funny when they all pick 3.
That what be funny, right? That could be funny too. We'll see.
Honestly, they might.
They might.
100%. They don't have the nostalgia and that old love. They're coming in.
Yep.
And getting it all at once.
Exactly.
And when you play it all at once, you may think 3 had the best mechanics. It's the ending.
Yeah.
I do really wish that they made the decision to upgrade the engine. They made the decision to keep it all on Unreal Engine 3, which, there's a lot of people who will look at it and say, even though they did make visual improvements, it still looks dated. You see the human features. I think the aliens look much better. If you look at like Thane looks amazing. Garrus looks amazing, but then you see like Captain Anderson, you're just like, oh, and it's like, that Uncanny Valley. And I really wish they could have, because if they would have did a full-on remake on like Unreal Engine 5 or something like that, or God forbid Frostbite Engine, but like if they would have did something like that, it would have been coming out right like years later, but right before Mass Effect 4. And think about that kind of impact. They could have been introducing a whole new generations into the series, and then here's the brand new part of it right here. And that would have been like, I think that probably would have been better for BioWare, but
I'm sure they can sell it to us again.
I'm sure they will.
True. This concludes the debate. Fantastic, gentlemen. Good work on Saul. We got super chats, but I don't want to hold everyone hostage. Anyone who has to leave, please. Again, it was an absolute pleasure. Hogue, Rand Outdoor. Travis,
thank you, gentlemen.
Miranda Lawson, aka Forte. Agitated Steve, my man. The legend. Bill Stillwell on VR. I love the N7 shirt, by the way. That was great. And of course, Hogue Law, my man. You know what I'm saying? Reasonable minds can disagree. We can. It's fun. No. So we're gonna just read these super chats and then everyone.
Hey, what's up? I do have to go. I gotta jump on. Try to jump on Scumcast.
Later, slow.
Thanks again, gentlemen.
A pleasure to do this with you guys. It's been a lot of fun, and I just want to, before I leave, I think we all know which one's the best. Damn it.
Mass Effect 2, baby.
As he walks out,
he throws mud.
As his moniker indicates, slow-mo back.
He tried to drop a mic and tripped over it.
Let's get these super chats. Then we officially end this stream.
We have Philip Carlisle, $2 super chat. Salute to you all. By the way, ME3 is ME3 though.
Yo, ME3.
People like ME3. And the man Cunningham, the $5 super chat. Mass Effect was the first story character-driven space RPG in the video game. Mass Effect 2 streamlined the RPG elements out of it and became a space shooter. ME1.
Let me delete his accent.
Then we have Sarko with the $5 super chat.
Yeah.
I heard from a guy who knows a guy who did time with a guy that said it was the Anthem team that primarily worked on Mass Effect 2. Just saying. Then we have Philip Carlisle once again, $2 super chat. Great discussion about ME3, one of the best.
ME3 again.
ME3. Then we have
the same guy though.
I know. Right? Then we have
double represented.
Fat Boy Horror with the £5 super chat.
Yeah.
Mass Effect 1 is bomb and had the best protagonist. Then we have Lucius Augustus, $5 super chat. Saren was just a brainwashed xenophobe that was tight that his proud people had problems beating the humans in the First Contact War.
Talk that talk.
Yep. Agreed.
He's an angry racist.
He's a
powerful thing.
He's a petty little Trump supporter.
Oh my God. Moving on.
The Iron Lords do not.
Do politics here.
Let me see. Dan the Man Cunningham, $5 super chat. The character development and interaction suffered in Mass Effect 2 due to the transition to the PlayStation. Watered down story is superior in 1. Were there stories that came out about that getting it on both consoles or something like that? I don't recall.
Yeah.
Then we have Brap with the $2 super chat. Martin Sheen is the elusive man. ME2 the GOAT.
Yeah, Martin Sheen. We didn't talk about him.
Didn't even talk about Martin Sheen.
There's a reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
That check was too fat. They could have built out the world if they hadn't spent money on Martin Sheen.
So much in the characters.
It was worth it for
then we have Gaming Addict with the $2 super chat. Mass Effect 2 people looking spooky. Yes, Addict, that is correct. Then we have Lucius Augustus, $2 super chat. Shadow Broker DLC is why ME2 is the GOAT. Yes, correct. That is why ME2 would be.
No, I love how he tried to get out of there. Saul tried to get out of there. He was scared. He's like, "Oh no, we got to do the base game."
You notice how I went quiet.
Let me put this additive thing in order to get me over the hump. Yes. Dan the Man Cunningham once again with the $5.
All his Mass Effect 1 money. Go ahead.
Mass Effect 1 is the Star Trek of games, and Mass Effect 2 went Star Wars. Less story driven, more actiony. Nothing wrong with it, but I'll take Mass Effect 1. Then we have Gerald Mack, $5
liking
super chat.
Star Wars track over Star Wars. I judge you.
He's being judged. Gerald Mack, $5 super chat. I wonder if the Mass Effect 1 team would like Mass Effect 1 today if it came out and played the same.
I told him yes in chat already.
Probably. Then we have Lord Kaibatsu with the $2 super chat. All hail Cog, aka Lord Gaslighter.
Yeah, I had to get Hogue. I had to get him.
Cog
he was
with
preaching
the
ME1 in the chat though. He was preaching ME1.
He's an ME1 guy.
No, but Kai know what I did. You know what I was doing. I had to get Hogue. That was a planned attack. You got to diffuse the lawyer.
You didn't want to see Hogue being objective. Exactly. Want that. Then we have Philly Eagle, $5 super chat. Hella fun chat debate. 3, 1, Andromeda, and 2 in that order.
He's literally almost whole, except we got.
Wow. 2 was bland to me. To each their own, though. To each their own.
Fair enough.
For sure. Then we have Gaming Times Patrick, $5 super chat. EA needs to cut ILP a check because if I buy Mass Effect Legendary Edition day 1, it's because of this debate. Y'all bring the memories back. Thank you so much. Let me see. Then we have. Okay, I have.
I'll expect my cut of that royalty.
We'll cut a check to IGN as well.
For sure. Dan Lazaro, $2 super chat. Solve Cog. Y'all need to do this more. Great show. No doubt. Yeah, this is really, this goes to the core of who we are growing up. Like
always arguing about stuff.
It was part of our culture, man.
Yeah,
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have Gaming Times Patrick once again, $2 super chat.
Oh,
so
Lord.
when is the best Final Fantasy debate?
That'll be another 2 hours.
That's like
that'll be another 2 hour debate.
Yeah, that's headache inducing.
That's good. Headache inducing. No doubt. So
we're all set.
Yeah, we're caught up. This is a good one, man. Everybody enjoy. Yo, actually, Ains, we had Season Gaming going on earlier, man. Tell the people what's going on with you, man, before we head out.
Oh, yeah. SeasonGaming.com. You can find everything we do there. We do a weekly podcast live Saturdays at noon Central. So that episode from today was up. In fact, we had Hector on.
Oh yeah, shout out
from from Lords. Oh my God, man. There was an epic rant in the middle of our show today, so I'll clip that and put it on Twitter. But yeah, man, you can find me on Twitter, just Ains. There's not many Ainsleys out there, so I'm easy to find. And SeasonGaming.com. Thank you all for the support. Appreciate the shout out, guys.
No doubt, you already know. Let's get the man with the million Randolph on my bro. Xbox 2 was yesterday. What else is going on, man?
Not much, man. I just waiting for Mass Effect Legendary Edition next week. Currently playing Resident Evil Village.
Oh, it's good, isn't it?
I think I'm only a couple hours in, but one of the best looking games out there. Finished Returnal last week, which was a lot of fun. But yeah, thanks for having me on again, Cog. It's always good to be back in the realm of the Lords.
Came up clutch, brother.
Well, it's funny because Ains, you should have heard.
You didn't heard behind the scenes.
He was worried about me.
I was worried about Rand.
Me, because I'm too respectful to people.
I was like,
I don't do messy stuff, and
you did let your feelings known in a very eloquent manner. It was good. We needed it.
We needed it. You came up clutch, bro. You came up clutch. No doubt. And of course, my man, IGN's own Ty Guy Travis, the legend himself, McClunky himself.
McClunky.
My man.
Why are you making fun of ME1 again, man?
Yo! What's going on, man? Where can I find people?
Yeah, they were worried about me being the opposite of Randall Thor and being way too mean. But,
yes, I told him down.
Yeah, they were like, "Hey, don't make anybody cry," and I was like, "But that's what I do."
That's what I do.
We're still there. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, you can. You can find me on Twitter at TyGuyTravis, and you can read my articles on IGN.com. We just did a exclusive preview of an upcoming remaster of an old classic game, Alex Kidd in Miracle World, which the older people here might like.
That game looks beautiful.
Wow,
yeah, so I got to play through that game, and I got to write some thoughts on that. And then I'm also reviewing the new kind of like a payday robbery game called Hood Outlaws. That one. So I'll have that review up this week if you want to read it on IGN.com.
Salute, brother. Always a pleasure, man. Love the passion. You always bring the smoke, as always. And of course, one of my good friends in the industry, the legend of Bat-Compat, the legend of Project X Cloud, and now the new soon-to-be legend, Facebook VR Oculus Quest 2. My man, the legend, Bill Stillwell, man. Absolute pleasure. What you got going on, man?
Thanks for having me on. I always appreciate the opportunity to do this because as someone who's not a public figure, I'm not a professional talker like the rest of you. But it was great to be here. Like you said, for those who don't know, I did leave Xbox. I went over to work on Oculus. I've been there now for a while. And because I am a believer in the VR future, I'm trying to convert all of you very slowly. I know you do.
Got a rep.
There is. Oh, there you go. There's so much that's there, and we talk about the reason I did it, and what I loved about this is we talk about how emotional games can be, how they resonate, and when you move into VR, the level that it takes in the immersion. I still think Half-Life Alyx may be one of the best Half-Life. We can have a whole different discussion about that later.
You were telling me about Hellblade in VR last week.
Hellblade in VR. So I like Hellblade in VR. Hellblade in VR, or I like Hellblade. Hellblade in VR is a whole new level.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those for what it's worth, VR a few years ago kind of ruined the industry. I think because everybody tried out cardboard and YouTube 360 and went, what the heck is this? And now they don't realize how far it's come in just the last couple of years. But in any case,
Half-Life Alyx made me a believer for 100%. Yeah.
Yes, that's actually what it did. Like that for me flipped the switch where I went, oh, this is the future of gaming. It is the future of social interaction. It is so much beyond what I thought, and the leaps and bounds in the tech over just the last couple of years. So that's why I ultimately went to Oculus, and I'm really happy to be there.
Nice.
But if you really care, if you want to follow me, I am at Walla Bill. Because I'm also a hockey guy. I'm a goalie.
Yeah.
And I'm or because I'm fat. One of the two. But thanks for having me on. And this was a ton of fun. I hope we get to do it again. Absolutely. It's also Final Fantasy VII.
Wait, we joined forces. Oh, my man Bill's back in good graces. Yes, we get AIDS.
Help, man.
They've been indoctrinated.
Let me move your square back to the top. Next to me.
Rand, where's Rand at?
Yeah. I'm right. Which Final Fantasy is the best?
Yeah. That's the next.
I mean, 7. I mean, there's no debate.
Let me move your square. Hold on, Travis. What side you on?
7.
Oh, okay. You stay with us. So Rand, we'll get you in line. All right. We'll leave those two. Man. We'll leave those two down there.
What are you guys advocating for? What's the best?
They're Final Fantasy 6 guys.
Oh my god. I thought you were gonna say 10 or something.
That's like trying to be counterculture, you know.
Oh my god. That's another debate for another day.
It's very easy to roll with the masses, isn't it?
Oh my god.
And Final Fantasy VII is one of my top 5 games of all time. It's literally the reason I bought a PS. What was it on PS2?
PS1?
Was it on PS1? Yeah. It was the reason I actually started playing RPGs in the first place. I remember seeing those commercials, those places, and I sat and I never played an RPG before in my life.
Well, that's the problem.
Yeah,
maybe it is, but I can only speak from my experience. Those commercials made me play it. I played through Final Fantasy VII like 8 times. It's like. It's such an amazing experience.
Did you think it was an action game before you actually played it?
Oh my god, they're messy.
No, I mean I knew what it was.
Your argument that 7 is an action game. Come on.
No. I'm just saying the way they marketed 7 made it feel like it wasn't what it was.
You already got super chats coming in with Final Fantasy.
Yo, here they come. We got to end the show now. Here we go. Round 2. So
although I will say I do have a very soft spot in my heart for Final Fantasy VIII.
Okay.
It's just the gun thing. It's the water gun thing.
So get the super chats and then let's roll out.
ME2 and Final Fantasy. Game Times Patrick, $2 super chat. ME2 and FF6. Just saying you got half of it right, sir.
Yeah, he's in the middle.
There you go.
Is that everything?
Yeah, we're good.
Right,
we're
cool.
good.
Look, fantastic show, gents. Catch us tomorrow. The Lords will be back Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern. We will have Chase Money. We'll talk some games, have some fun. This is fantastic. Catch you guys later. Peace.